You look like crap.
I know I do.
I
It's
think
April
about
Fool's.
63.
God, it's April Fool's. Daddy, you look beautiful. Your
All right,
complexion's
okay,
lovely.
thanks. I hate that when people say that to people. 'Cause it ruins your day. Like,
No, it doesn't.
I felt
That was
fresh.
a joke. Behave yourself. Come here. I'm going to have a list of mile long. I'll have to report back to you tomorrow.
What about?
My van is up for a test at 10 o'clock this morning.
That's gonna be
Oh,
good fun.
gee.
Are you one of the ones that just throws it in and then fixes
Well,
what's
you see,
wrong?
Daddy, the age of it, 07 at this stage.
Zero, don't poor mouth. Lots of us drive
No,
07s.
I know. No, see, I
have an
love my
09
van.
X-Trail.
No, there's no poor mouth about it. I love it. It takes me. It's got heat. It's got radio.
What make is she?
She's a Volkswagen Caddy.
There you go, boy.
But listen to me. So back to thingy, the boy that throws it
You
in.
did this last year, right?
No, but it did
Whereby-
work.
No, yeah, but you did this last year. You're trying to sweet talk the NCT people so they know it's you. They know it's your van.
No, they know.
the make.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
It's,
you
you
do-
hand
I know
you
what
hand
you're
the
trying
keys
to
at
do
reception.
here. No, I know what you're trying to do.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Will it work, Dad? Will
No,
it work?
because they're too professional.
They're too professional. If you're listening this morning, go easy on me. No, they're not. I'll have a guarantee. The first thing they're going to say is the horn's not working. I can tell them now already.
The horn's not working.
No, the
well,
horn.
you're an idiot. You're wasting people's time.
No, but I need. No,
Did
but
you check all the lights?
the lights. Well,
Did you check every single light, including the lights for the number plates?
yeah, they work right. But there's
No,
an
did you
indicator.
check them?
But listen, I did check them. There's one that's a bit dodgy, right? But there's a chance it could work and it might not work. But I know for road safety and that, everything has to work, so it's good. So I'm going to get everything fixed.
Oh, look at you
I'm
trying
playing
to be
safe.
all careful so you don't get
Yeah,
in
but
trouble.
you get
I'd hate
reported
to
me.
live my life like you, trying to be so careful not to offend people.
Right? What way do you live your life?
Well, you just live your life normal, man.
You just say it how. Well, what do you think I'm living my life? Go on
Does your
away there.
homework-
Now. You're going to be. Hey, does my what work?
I genuinely, and this is the God's honest
Go on
truth.
ahead.
My brother was stopped at a.
That's good. There's no.
He was stopped at a checkpoint years and years and years and years ago, and the guard. This was way before NCT, and the
Right.
guard asked him to sound the horn. He wanted to make sure everything was working on the
Right.
vehicle.
Yes.
And he had no horn, so he went beep.
And he passed it.
Passed it, yeah.
Do you think that when I can see him, he'll probably hit
You
the
just
steering wheel?
go beep beep beep. That's a true story.
That's see what I bring out on you. You wouldn't have. When would you have told that story? You're smiling.
I
at
didn't
that.
even remember.
I made you smile. Good luck to you now. Beep.
All right, take care. It's 9:01. Let's get a news update. Hiya, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Concorla is expected to comfortably survive a motion of no confidence in her this evening. The opposition is tabling it over her handling of the long-running speaking row. It's the first time in the history of the Dáil that such a vote on a Concorla has taken place. Speaking before Cabinet, Taoiseach Simon Harris says it's time to move forward.
But really we need to move beyond this, and I say this not to be provocative. I think the scenes in the Dáil have been unedifying, unbecoming, unseemly. I've said before, if children behave like that in your own house, you tell them to stop. This idea of people shouting and roaring, and indeed not just the opposition. We need to move beyond this.
The dumping of a dead dog in a clothing bank in West Donegal has highlighted once again the plague of illegal dumping in the county. The Alsatian dog was found discarded wrapped in blankets in the Trócaire area in recent times. Councillor Michael McClafferty has condemned the incident. He's appealing to people to have more consideration for the environment and for those who the clean-up then falls to.
Somebody in their ideology went there and done that, and we'll never know who done it, but it's been done anyway, and it shouldn't have been done, and I totally condemn it. And we'll certainly ask going forward that anything of this manner never ever happens again. And just for people that are minded to dump, just please desist from doing it. And think of the people that are tidying up after you and everything else are going up after you.
Donegal County Council is being urged to develop a better electric vehicle charging network for the county. Councillor Ollie Farn says with a huge increase in EVs and just 19 public charging points in Donegal, the current infrastructure is totally insufficient. Donegal County Council is the lead authority for the west and north of the Atlantic Way for ensuring local authorities provide a consistent, predictable and interoperable EV charging network. The council is expected to appoint a consultant to develop strategies for such in the coming weeks. Councillor Farn says it's imperative improvements are carried out to support efforts to increase visitors to Donegal.
If you have an EV car, there's no point in looking at Donegal at the moment because there's only 19 public charging locations. So we need to increase that to be more welcoming to EV chargers. It's different if you own one, you have one in your own private house. If you're a visitor, you don't, unless there's one at your hotel or B&B or Airbnb. So I like the council to seriously consider it. It was been brought up years ago, but we lag along behind all the other counties in my opinion.
Weather now dry and sunny today, breezy with highest temperatures of 12 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
It's not just that Ilma and Julio's crops have been destroyed by extreme floods and drought. It's not just that this has happened again and again. It's not just that fear for their children's future grows greater every day. Climate change is pushing families in Guatemala further into poverty. And it's not just. Please support the Trócaire box appeal this Lent, because for these families, it's not just a box, it's a lifeline. Give what you can. Call 1-800-408-408 or visit trócaire.org. Trócaire, together for a just world.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 5 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday. It's the 1st of April. I try and make up something to catch you out, but the world's so crazy at the moment, you couldn't do anything that someone wouldn't believe because everything happens now. But anyway, maybe you got done good today. Let us know if you've got an April Fool's that you want to share with us. 086 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number for all of your contacts with us today. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com. And talking to Lee there just before the news, talking about people pretending to have a horn and beep and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, men are mad. And I don't think sometimes, and I don't think it's sexist to say it, but I don't think women would do stuff as crazy as men would do. And I was just talking to Lee while the news was on. And I had an old car. It was actually when I moved up here, and Lee was a baby, and it just wasn't practical. It was like it didn't have proper back seats and stuff like that. And I sold it to a person who cycled from Dublin, and this is no joke. He cycled from Dublin. He came up, he had a look at the car. Mum made him soup and a sandwich, and then he put his bike in the car and drove home. Now, I don't think a woman would ever do that. You know, that is mad. Like, fellas are mad, aren't they? Do you have any crazy things anyone in your partner has done, your father's done, your son's done, stuff that you just know a woman wouldn't do? If you ever watch those videos, you know, where people have mishaps, it's always fellas doing silly things like climbing on the roofs of sheds and falling through them. It's never women that do it. But anyway, if you can beat my mad story of a fella cycling from Dublin to buy my car, let us know. As I say, maybe there's stories there about girls, women, that I'm missing out on. But I just think fellas are particularly crazy when it comes to things like that. But if you have any stories, maybe you can beat that. Something your dad did, something your brother did, uncle, whatever it is, let us know. 086 60 25,000. Right, let's look at what's happening on the front and inside some of the newspapers. And the LPT, looks like they're going to be freezing the LPT for the majority of us, and VAT and energy bills too are not going to increase because of VAT. They may increase because of sort of market pressures or what have you, but not because of VAT. In the Independent today, local property tax bans will effectively be frozen under measures being presented to Cabinet, along with plans to freeze VAT on gas and electric until at least the autumn. If implemented, the new measures will come as welcome relief to families who are concerned about a raft of household costs that are rising from this month. Now, broadband, I switched broadband. I avoided, I actually changed contracts and avoided those increases and elsewhere as well. So many of them are avoidable, but many of us are going to be hit with them as well. Finance Minister Paschal Donohoe will outline 2 interim measures to ease pressure on households' outgoings. In terms of LPT, it'll mean the vast majority of homes do not move up a band despite continued rising house prices across Ireland. The next valuation date for LPT is due to take place in November the 1st, as the law provides for a revaluation every 4 years. According to the Central Statistics Office, property prices increased by a national average of 23% in the period from November 23 to the end of last year. So I mean, it's one of those, it is going to be a saving, but because we're never impacted by the saving, we're not maybe going to feel it as strongly as we might. But anyway, I suppose anything that keeps the bills down has to be welcomed. We often talk about, war and our neutrality and our role in war and who makes money from war and why do they happen really? What's it all about? Well, often it is about power and war and money, isn't it? And we seem to be playing our role in some of the stuff that's going on around the world, and there's no point pretending we don't. The number of aircraft permitted to bring military weapons and ammunitions through Ireland has hit a 13-year high, with 1,354 flights sanctioned last year. So what that effectively means, and it's just a question, maybe you are perfectly happy with it, that a lot of the weapons that are being dropped on people in Yemen or in Gaza or what have you, that we facilitate that. By allowing these flights to land here and refuel, and they continue their onward journey. These weapons are unloaded, they're put into planes, drones, whatever, into guns, and they are being used to kill people in these wars that so many people in this country seem to be opposed to, yet on it goes. That figure of 1,354 flights sanctioned represents an increase of 14% on weapons flights in a year and a 67% rise since 2016. So that's really, you can link the increased in activity at Shannon really with the increased activity in the likes of the Middle East. The recent large increases coincides with Israel's invasions of Gaza after Hamas's attack on October 7th, 23, with much of Israel's equipment coming from the United States, and Ukraine's defensive war weapons against Russia. That began in 2022. Early statistics for 2025 indicate significantly more exemptions will be granted again next year. So we are, again, not only facilitating it now, but we're going to facilitate it to a greater extent next year. In each of the first 2 months of this year, 142 flights were permitted to transport munitions of war. The figures for the first 2 months of last year were 70 and 106 respectively. So they don't always land, but they travel through our airspace and what have you. So, you can't say we're not complicit in that because we're part of the chain of the weapons being prepared, transported and used. We are part of that chain. How important that role is, I don't know. But just make everyone aware that that's the case in case people weren't fully clear. The Irish Daily Mail this morning, Verona Murphy made history by becoming the first female camcorder, and she's going to do it again by becoming the first person in the position to face a no confidence motion. It comes after months of controversy over Dáil speaking rights and claims by the opposition last week that she had not acted impartially and failed to implement the rules of the House. Ms Murphy was elected to the job as part of a deal to bring her former regional independent colleagues into coalition with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in a move that was criticised as it was viewed as politicising the role, and also too, it's a very well paid role. What is it, $250,000, something along those lines? Well, after initially agreeing that her former backbench colleagues could speak from the opposition benches, she ruled they could not do so, prompting the government to devise new alterations to Dáil speaking time. And the Irish Daily Mail revealed at the weekend that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers were shocked when told by the newspaper of the imbalance in favour of Michael Lowry and his group of fellow independent TDs, despite the two parties having 30 and 23 backbenches respectively compared to his group of 7 deputies. So really what this means is the new speaking rights slots benefit 60 TDs, 30 Fianna Fáil backbenchers and 23 Fine Gael backbenchers and 7 independents, including Mr Lowry, classified as other members. However, the new speaking time will not be allocated evenly between all 60 TDs, with the time for the slot being divided evenly between 3 groupings, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the other members. So even though there are many more Fianna Fáil backbenchers, many more Fine Gael backbenchers, if you look at the way the time is split up, this group of independents get more speaking time than the actual party's backbenchers, which is interesting. So the time's divided evenly between 3 groupings, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the other members, and TDs from each group will rotate speaking opportunities between them. This means the 7 independents will have far more regular opportunities than Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers to speak. So listen, the government's going to go undefeated effectively. They have a comfortable majority to make sure that Ms. Murphy stays in her position. But, you know, she's supposed to be there now, or she will be there for the next 5 years if the Dáil runs its full term. And you need a decent working relationship with everyone. So maybe she can rebuild the trust and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of politics, let's go to France. It's widely covered. I'm going to pull this from the Star. A French court yesterday barred Marine Le Pen from seeking public office for 5 years with immediate effect for embezzlement. It's a hammer blow to the far-right leader's presidential hopes and an earthquake for French politics. Now, her politics are far-right. I know sort of often in this country the words far-right is used as something of a slur, but her politics are actually far-right. So although Le Pen can appeal the verdict, such a move won't suspend her ineligibility, which could rule her out of the 2027 presidential race. Now, this is potentially problematic in that it's unusual. So she's been found, and I believe she and the supporters expected her to be found guilty of embezzlement. Now, normally you would be able to carry on your duties pending an appeal, and she says she's going to appeal. But the judge specifically, and this is the problem where now politics having an influence or judges having an influence on politics and vice versa gets a little bit messy, because the judge specifically said in his ruling that she shouldn't be allowed to run, that this would stay in place even with an appeal. Now, she wouldn't be allowed to run because it would set a bad precedent or could cause issues if someone with a conviction were to be elected to that position, the position of president. Now, that is, I think, by any reckoning, whether you like it or not, political interfering by the judiciary, because he referenced that specifically. Now, really, is it up to he or one individual or even a small collection of individuals to sort of judge what might happen if someone gets elected, especially if there are lots of people in France who might want to vote for her? So that's going to be controversial. It is controversial, and it's going to continue to be controversial. This was referenced by a listener yesterday, and because I was on air, I wasn't really getting the details live. But I want to take this from the Irish Daily Mirror. 14 people were arrested at Leinster House yesterday following a vigil organised by Mothers Against Genocide. The Garda press office confirmed 3 men had been charged and are before the courts. Women gathered outside Leinster House on Mother's Day to call on government to do more about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. They staged a sleep out on Kildare Street, which involved hanging up pictures of Palestinian children who had been killed as a result of Israeli aggression on the front gate of Leinster House. Karen Moynihan and Deanne O'Connor, who were all still outside Leinster House yesterday morning, told the Irish Mirror that at 5:30 a.m. they were asked to remove their visual display. Ms. O'Connor said, "We had our visual display, which was 70 pictures of 70 Palestinian children who have been killed by Israel to represent the 70 children that are killed every day. We laid flowers during our vigil for each child and shoes to represent their stolen childhood." There was also then a letter given to TDs, but obviously things escalated and they were removed. And finally, in the Sun this morning, a significant number of people seeking asylum in Ireland crossed the border from the north, it was claimed yesterday, and it came from Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan. He spoke out as he attended an immigration summit in London. He told the media that evidence showed a large number of international protection applicants arrive here from Northern Ireland. Mr. O'Callaghan said he wanted more cooperation between the UK and Ireland on immigration. He added, people who are seeking asylum are very welcome to come to Ireland. We're a very welcoming country. But if you're coming and not entitled to asylum, you won't be allowed to stay. The Organised Immigration Crime Summit is being attended by UK and EU leaders as well as executives from tech giants Meta and X. Okay. We're going to take a break. Coming up, we're going to have a story for you about a reduction in access, visiting hours, tours to Glenveagh. We're going to hear all about that very shortly. Stay right where you are.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
When it's time for confirmation or first communion, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top-label casual and formal wear. Suits with matching shirts and ties. Blazers, jackets and shirts. Also denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, Cavani and Tommy Bow. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny. And online at watsonmenswear.com.
If you have PRSI, you can get free hearing devices at Specsavers. Now, we know what you're thinking. Oh, if they're free, they're bound to be those big old-fashioned ones that do this kind of thing, as well as this kind of thing. But actually, they just do this kind of thing. Amazing sound from a rechargeable piece of tech so small you can barely see it. All completely free. So book a free hearing check at Specsavers now, because OK Hearing is not OK. On hearing devices up to €1,000, terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 91 or visit doortech.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It is 9:20. Now, it's been announced that for operational reasons, the castle at Glenveagh National Park will be closed to tours every Monday and Friday from the 1st of June 25, with the exception of public holidays. Dr. Emmett Johnston is the regional manager of Glenveagh National Park, and he joins us on the programme now. And we do appreciate you coming on to explain this to us. Good morning, Emmett. Oh, I can't hear you, Emmett. Sorry. Yes, I've got you now. Yeah, I've got you now. Sorry, beg your pardon. Right.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I've got you. Yep. So, what do we mean by operational reasons?
Well, I suppose I'd put it this way. It's a very unfortunate situation that we've ended up in, and the decision has been made with a heavy heart. But really, it comes down to the fact that we don't have sufficient staff to man the desks in the castle and the visitor centre all at the same time during the busiest periods. And we have really been relying on overtime and the goodwill of staff over the past year. And that's what got us through last summer. But on occasions when staff were ill or couldn't make it in, as is the case, with in any business, people sometimes can't make it. We had to close the castle at short notice. So this is really a plan for a more sustainable practice, which basically allows tour operators and visitors to understand which days the castle will be open and which days the castle will not be open.
And when you say there's an issue with staff, is it that you can't find the staff, or there isn't funding for the staff that's required to keep this service operational?
I suppose it's neither. I suppose just the way that we operate as a government organisation, is staff and is organised centrally, and it takes a long time, and budgets and things have to be put in place, and it does take a significant amount of time to recruit staff because they're public servants, and there's a lot of different checks and balances that need to be undertaken, and we just simply haven't got the staff on time to maintain the service at it 7 days a week for this year.
So is it that then the this wasn't seen coming, and you didn't seek additional staff, or is it foot dragging or delays or issues externally? Because I mean, obviously, we should have had foresight of this.
Yes, that's true. How would I put it? As an organisation, National Parks and Wildlife Service is undergoing a large amount of change, and we are expanding rapidly. And that means that there are growing pains, and there are, I suppose there has to be a prioritisation of what competitions are run at different times a year. We've had some staff taken on, but we don't get everything that we want immediately. And there are other demands around the rest of the country as well. We're a national organisation. It's not just Donegal operation.
I do understand that, and I can't expect you to be privy to all of the workings of the national parks and wildlifes. But I mean, do you know of any other jewel in the crown major significant tourism attractions that are having to close some of the most attractive parts of them for periods of time in the holiday season, or is this an exclusively Donegal situation? I've lost you again, Emmett. I'm sorry. I don't know. I've lost the audio from you there. I don't know what the story is. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
To that, yeah. That was very timely out there.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that'd be the second time that's happened this week. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't have the answer to that. I suppose I'm the manager here at Glenveagh, and I need to do what's right by the staff and what's right by the visitors. And really, this is proper planning and in a professional approach rather than a haphazard response on a daily basis throughout the summer. So we're doing the best we can, given the resources that we have. And continue to do so. And once we have those additional resources in place, we'll go back to a 7-day operation.
Is that going to happen this season, as far as you're aware?
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
I know things are out of your hands to some extent, right? And I know you're trying to give people forewarning, but it's just I really find it very hard to accept that people will come and visit, and not everyone checks everything, that people will come and visit this. They may have traveled from the other side of the world, and we don't have an awful lot. We have lots going on, right? But we need to have people to have access for it, that if they were to land on Mondays and Fridays, they wouldn't get access to the castle. That's just, it's a tough pill to swallow, that one.
It is, and it is for all of us. As I say, we don't do this because we want to. It's just in response to the circumstances, and certainly the rest of the park, the gardens, the visitor centre are all open and fully operational. It's just that the castle takes that little bit extra in the staff, and we need to have a minimum number of staff for health and safety reasons because of the access is difficult. It's not a castle that is. It's not a building that's designed to put a huge amount of public through it, which we do every year. So the way the corridors and the stairs and all the rooms are laid out, it wasn't designed to have 200,000 people walking through it. So we have to have a certain number of people on each floor to be able to deal with emergency situations should there be a fire or an accident. And simply that's due diligence really that we undertake. And it would be irresponsible of us to put a lot of members of the public into a building without having the proper staffing ratio in place.
Okay, and just to be clear, so we can make our own inquiries as well, additional staff have been applied for. What process is ongoing at the moment to fully staff that would allow 7-day opening?
Well, we make our submissions to the central department, and then, as I say, that's prioritised on a needs by needs basis.
And how many additional staff are you seeking at the moment from central office?
5.
Okay.
So it's quite substantial. It's not 1 or 2.
Yep, understood. A few people texting in saying that there can be issues with card payments. Is it a staffing issue or is it a broadband issue? I'm not sure how frequent or infrequent that is.
No, that's an additional issue that we're suffering at the moment. It's around with our payment provider. And the cards, and we haven't been able to take card payments in the last 2 months. We are working on a fix for that. It does take time, and we have another workaround as an insurance policy that we're bringing in the next 2 weeks.
Is that exclusive to Glenveagh or across the whole?
No, that's across the entire NPWS, National Parks and Wildlife Service. So that's at all the National Parks and Wildlife Service parks.
A caller says, Greg, can you ask Dr. Johnston why they don't put a charge as little as €5 on people visiting Glenveagh? But these are national parks and there's public access, and that's not a local decision.
It's not a local decision, and I don't. If you don't mind, I'll answer that. A previous minister made a very strong decision and said that access to nature in the countryside should be free for a citizen, and it's managed on behalf of the citizen. And we all think that's a strong decision to allow access, and people, they pay for the extra things where there's additional upkeep, but certainly the national parks themselves are free to access.
Okay, so it's from the 1st of June. So we're not anticipating extra staff then by June, I take it.
Well, as I say, we work in hope, and we will see how, if anything changes, we'll update, and we'll let everybody know.
Okay, thanks very much, Emmett. I do appreciate your time. Take care. That's Dr. Emmett Johnston, Regional Manager of Glenveagh National Park. That would not happen in Kerry, says a listener. And as I say, this is not it is a local decision, but it's not because of local situations. And I can't imagine. I'll tell you what we'll do. As part of our increase to the National Parks and Wildlife Service, we'll ask, has there been a reduction in visitor days? I'm trying to phrase this correctly because it's quite significant. I don't want to get it wrong. Has there been... No, thank you, that way, thanks. Has there been any reduction in access to any other facilities right around the country? Maybe this is one while politicians need to get involved in and back the local crew there. They have to make the right decisions. A couple of people thinking that this is an April Fool's. That's what I said at the top of the show. Don't even try and make up April Fool's because half the stuff it's hard to believe happens in any case. So there's no point me trying to come up with something. But no, it's not. It is a fact. And I just get a feeling that this is something that's particularly going to affect us here in Donegal, and it's not happening in Kerry, for an example.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
It's the Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware biggest ever sale. Up to 50% off everything in store. All tiles, all wood flooring, all outdoor slabs, cladding and bathware. Everything is slashed in price. This sale is not to be missed. Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Biggest ever half-price sale now on.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents the Ultimate 70s Night, Sunday, October 26th. Get ready for Shawadi Wadi and the Bay City Rollers live at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Sing and dance the night away to all the hits. Tickets on sale at ticketmaster.ie and hotel reception. Don't miss this unforgettable night, October 26th at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. It's back. McGinty Tractors Open Day, Thursday, 3rd of April from 2 p.m. until 9 p.m. on the Clar Road, Donegal Town. Don't miss out on the largest selection of tractors and farm machinery on show exclusively at McGinty Tractors Open Day on April 3rd from 2 until 9 p.m. Visit mcgintytractors.com.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Now, we are in studio with three guests. Aisling McGeehan, Homeschool Community Liaison Coordinator with the Finn Valley College. Good morning, Aisling.
Morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you keeping?
Keeping well, yeah.
Fantastic. Ryan Hannigan's a transition year student who also sits on the Students' Council. Hi, Ryan.
Morning.
And Jessica O'Connor's a sixth year student who's been using what we're going to be talking about, the Breakfast Club. How are you getting on, Jessica? Yeah, I'm good. Good, thank you. Right, Aisling, what's the Homeschool Community Liaison Coordinator? What's your role in the school?
I suppose my role, Greg,
An easy one to get started.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for that. And thank you for inviting us onto the show. It's fantastic. My role is really about building a relationship between the home, the community and the school. And I work very closely with parents, and I suppose this is what this is all about, listening to our parents' voice and listening to our students' voice. In our school, you know, every child matters, and we want to make sure that
every child is catered for. And this is really what this initiative is about, making sure that every child is catered for.
All right, so how does it work and when was it introduced? I suppose, how did you, we'll start at the beginning, right? So how did it come to your knowledge that, there was a need there, and what did you develop and introduce?
Yeah, well, I suppose Ryan is a member of the Student Council, and maybe Ryan wants to talk about that, right?
So I am a member of the Student Council, which basically means that I get the students' voice out there. So us at the Student Council would have a weekly sit down and talk about issues and suggestions to the school, and we would bring them up to Miss Diver, who is the coordinator of the Student Council, and she'll bring them up to management. And we have this thing during the break times called a suggestion box, and basically the students can put their issues and suggestions in that. So we'll have a sit down and talk about some of the issues and see what's good.
So I presume that a number of students then must have been talking about hunger in the classroom or food provided in the school. Is that how this started?
Yes, basically something like that. So they were saying, there was a large part of them saying that we should get like a wee breakfast in the canteen to ease off the stress, basically, of people who might be stressed to get their breakfast at home. So it would allow them to, go into school, have a nice meal for the day.
Yeah, and I've seen there's many reasons why that catches a lot of people, doesn't it? Because it could be a very busy morning. It could be a very early start. Not everyone wants to eat at the crack of dawn. And also, too, there are going to be students, who may not have access to breakfast in the morning, be it for financial reasons or others.
That's what it's all about. And we know ourselves, Greg, I'm sure you do the grocery shopping as well. The cost of living has increased immensely. And, I'm listening to Parent Voice all the time. So this is something that we need to do to cater to our families. Everybody's busy at the moment, and everybody's rushing out the door. They're trying to find a bus. The students are maybe a little bit late getting the bus. They're coming into school. They may not have had their breakfast, and this is an opportunity for them to sit down, sit with their friends, have their breakfast, and just settle into school in the morning and have that positive atmosphere. And we're a very, very caring school, and that's something we pride ourselves in. So this is it really encapsulates all of our core values of respect, community, equality and care. And, Craig, we're a JESH school as well. So that's obviously delivering equality of opportunity to all our students. And if they're coming in, they're having a lovely breakfast, they're sitting down with their friends, they're chatting. There's a group of students there playing cards in the morning, they're eating their porridge. And it's
how long has it been in place now, Aisling?
It's been in place now since the end of January, beginning of February.
Brilliant. So Jessica is with us. You're a sixth year, right? So you've been through the whole school at this point. You use the breakfast club. What difference has it made to you, Jessica?
Well, I would have come into school at 10 to 8 and I'd be sitting, I'd read a book and I wouldn't eat until 11 o'clock, which was small break, because I'd be so rushed out the door and I wouldn't get to eat breakfast. Now I find that whenever I do have the breakfast in the morning, it benefits me because I'm a lot more focused in class and I have that nutritious meal to keep me energized until 11.
Yeah, and because it's relatively recent, how you felt, before Christmas, say, and since. You can see the difference in yourself.
Oh, there's a huge impact.
I should
on
probably
me.
start having breakfast.
Yeah, it's a good meal to have to start off your
to
day.
do a breakfast club. Yeah. I really should. What do you have?
I have either toast or bread roll with orange juice or tea. And my friends would sit down with me and some of them have porridge and others have Weetabix. It's all very nutritious to us. We all benefit from it.
Ryan, what's the feedback been from students since this was introduced? Because, I presume you go back or in your weekly meetings, you just run through, the changes and what have you.
Feedback has been great amongst the students. I've seen the impact it has on them. They seem to be chatting, as Jessica says, to their mates and all at the breakfast in the morning. And it's been a good impact.
You'd see even, the canteen. We have fantastic canteen staff as well. Una's a fantastic chef, and we have Fiona and Noreen and Tanya, and it's just that relationship building among the students and the staff. It's fantastic.
What's the practicalities of this, though, Aisling? Because, maybe there's lots of schools would think, we would love to do that. But, I mean, you start saying you're going to feed a whole cohort of students. The money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and that, I mean, we were very successful in the application. We applied for additional funding in January, and we were very successful in that. And now we're able to provide for our students, and they're obviously empowered in class. They're focusing more. It's about making sure that they reach their full potential, and with the reduced costs for lunch as well. Like, there's soup and brown bread for 50 cents. You're getting a nutritious meal. You're set up for the day, and it's obviously impacting on the teaching and learning in the classroom as well.
Everyone's less hangry.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Definitely.
Jessica, there is that social element to it, isn't it? It's a different space where students congregate, because we get into friends groups and stuff, and I'm not saying everyone's the best of buddies and all that kind of stuff, but it's a different opportunity, isn't it, for students to engage with each other.
It is. Like, before the breakfast club, me and my friends would be scattered about the school, and we wouldn't be in one huge group talking to each other. But now we sit down and we all have breakfast together, and we sit down at the one table, and there could be around 12 of us all sitting down. And like, I see other students doing the exact same thing at the other end of the table. Again, they've got a large group and they're all eating breakfast together. And then there's also boys who play the card game Uno, and I think they were on here last year talking about the card game Numero. And they would they'd eat breakfast together, and sometimes their staff join them in the card game, and I think that makes you feel welcomed in the mornings, especially.
Yeah, and I think too, especially for early arrivers, because it can make it a very long day, because you've got an hour in the bag before school even starts, and then you're home at 5 or 6 or something like that. There, maybe 5.
As Jessica said, she's one of those students.
I
She was
am.
coming in every morning at
I was
10
thinking,
to 8.
Yeah,
sitting
saying
in-
hello to the caretaker. How are you?
Yeah.
First thing again.
reading her book in the corner, and
Ryan, I mean, obviously, deaf schools are in certain areas for certain reasons as well, and we know from the CSO that families are having to make choices about food, and sometimes people go without food. That's a reality, and no more so in our own county. So, that is also a very important factor of this, isn't it? It's helping students from families who just don't have the same resources as others.
Yeah, exactly. That is the reason there, just to ease off the stress, as I said, and like
take the pressure off. It's
Pressure,
tough.
yeah.
Like, it is tough. I think young ones sometimes, to some extent, hopefully are insulated, but like mums and dads worry about this stuff all the time. And I'll put that to you too, Ashley. And the CSO tells us that there's increased poverty. And many children, 500, 400, what is the figure? I don't want to pull it. I know the figure. It'll come to me in a moment. I haven't eaten yet, so my brain's not working clearly. The discounted lunches, was that
11%
yeah.
of the poverty rates in the northwest at the moment.
You talked about the cut price lunches, and you mentioned the soup and sandwich. Are you able to do that across the board? And have you seen any pattern changes in students and hanging about to eat? Or
so some of our students would have went down the town to eat their lunch, and now you can see that there are more students staying in the canteen for lunch, and obviously that's beneficial in itself, because if they're not going outside and they're not getting wet, sometimes they're getting wet and they're coming in, and you're not ready to learn. You're not able to sit in class if you're wet, or you're you're just not able to focus in class. So if they're staying in the canteen, they're meeting their friends again. There's a great positive atmosphere there, because we have staff obviously supervising, we've SNA supporting the students, and if our students are there at lunchtime, and the more they are, the better the positivity and the environment that they're in.
We're talking obviously to parents and grandparents and guardians, because all the young ones hopefully are in school. Do you think there could be a greater uptake of this, given the fact that it's proven so popular? Like, would you like to see more students taking up these options? Ashley?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're supporting student well-being here. It's about giving a nutritious meal to the students and making sure that they're happy. And whenever they're happy, they're more engaged in their learning. And if they're happy, their parents are happy. So it's, you know, it's helping everybody.
Jessica, you're in your final year,
Yeah.
so you need all the brain energy you can get.
Yeah.
How's it going so far for you?
Well, I find the breakfast really keep me energized throughout the day. Like, I was in the mornings, come 10 o'clock, I was starving and I was wanting food, and because I was so rushed at home.
And you get brain fog and all
yeah,
that stuff,
it was
don't
just,
you? It's horrible
I wasn't,
when you're hungry.
Nothing was going into my head, but now I find I'm learning a lot more,
Good.
a lot more sticking in my head. I'm able to answer in class a lot more, and it's since I've been getting breakfast in the morning.
Bro, do you know what you want to do yet?
I'm no clue.
Good. Why? Don't worry about it yet. You've got ages.
Yeah.
What year?
It's not an easy choice.
I'm just, you know, like I'd love to be young, but I'm really pleased that I don't have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know, aging is a gift.
A lot of difficult choices to be made.
For
Is that
sure.
right, Jessica?
But all choices you don't have to stick with. You can try something in broad courses that allow you to sort of. Ryan, what year are you in?
I am in transition years.
So you've done nothing all year. Scratching.
That's not true.
Not true. Not true.
Miss Gary, our coordinator, would not be happy with that comment.
He's done nothing but played with robots. No, I'm only joking. I actually am a massive fan of transition year. Really, it's a game changer, I think, for young people.
Really, really good.
What have you been doing out of interest?
So at the start of the year, we did like CPR training.
Cool.
And we went out to Garton as well.
That's like outdoor activities.
The outdoor activity centre near here. And
have you done your trip yet, or is there a trip this year?
We're having a European tour next week, actually.
Right, are you going?
I am going.
Cool. Wow.
Of course,
I wouldn't
of
need
course.
to think I was going. I'd be like, wow, yeah, okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. And have you found your friends group widening out? I know you're involved in the council, so maybe it doesn't apply with you, but I just think it's a great way to connect with other students that you don't cross. Which teacher did I upset, by the way, so I can apologise directly?
Our TY, our transition year coordinator, Miss Gary. So
Miss
if
Gary,
you could
I'm
apologise to
very
her,
sorry.
that'd be
I think
great.
Miss Gary might have been here before. Sorry, Miss Gary.
Yeah, they were here last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's
our
right.
Students and teachers, they're fantastic.
You're not here to take part, you're here to take over.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to listen back to that. They were Monday night sessions. All right, brilliant stuff.
Fantastic.
So, any of the three of you, anything you want to add? We covered everything. I think really, you know, it's fantastic to have something like this here, and a lot of schools will be looking along going, wow, we wish we could do that. But make sure that the parents encourage the students to use it, you know, or even if it's a couple of times a week, whatever.
And
you
it's
know?
just, do you know what? It's spreading the word, because some of the students may not have realised, but now because of the increase in the uptake of it, you can see more and more coming in early for the breakfast and of course the lunch as well. And the lunches are so nutritious. A full dinner, Greg, beautiful.
All right, Ashley, do all schools have someone in your position that is so actively focused in sort of, you know, parents, guardians, the school, the students?
JS schools have the homeschool community liaison coordinator.
Right, okay.
But if you haven't been supported in that way, you won't have the homeschool community liaison coordinator. So we're very lucky, and it's great to be in that position to be able to support the families.
All right, Ryan, do you know what you want to do yet? I mean, you're kind of involved in politics. I just want to give you an opportunity to say you are interested, and then I can discourage you.
No, I am actually thinking of doing film.
Yeah,
sometime in the
future.
There's
a massive push on that in this county at the moment. I know I was up in Milford School and a couple of others, and there's a lot of students interested in that sort of area of the arts. And even today, with the fifth most popular spot for filming in the country.
And we're actually one of the pilot schools.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Well, you tell me something I don't know then. Stephen Fry's in the county. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
There you go.
There you go.
Learn something new every day.
He's filming. He and some other actors are filming around the county. No, but we are kind of potentially becoming a hotspot, you know, and trying to
the new
attract
Leaving Cert subject as well. We're one of the pilot schools for that.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah, for the drama and film studies.
Behind the camera kind of stuff, or writing, or tech stuff.
All of the above. really.
Brilliant.
Just all of it.
Hold on. I've just got a message from Ms. Tina Gary.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Miss.
No,
Apology.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble, Greg. Yeah.
Apology accepted, Greg. Damn Facebook. I forget sometimes we're actually sitting in here talking to other people.
Yeah.
Right.
You and I both.
Thanks, Miss. Thanks, Miss. All right, then. Listen, well done, Jessica. The best of luck with whatever you decide to do in your career. I'm sure you'll do really, really well. And you spoke fantastically about this initiative and how it has benefited you, which is great. Ryan, you keep doing what you're doing. Will you be on the Students' Council for the rest of your time, or do you switch out now and focus more on your studies, or what way does that work?
I would say so. I would say I would stay on.
All right. No, I think it's a really important.
Yeah.
I always have had an issue, and we're getting better of it. Is talking about young people when we actually need to be talking to young people and hearing what they have to say.
And that's something that we've invested a lot of time in
100%.
the school at the moment. Is that whole student leadership.
Yeah.
And listening to the student voice.
Yeah, for sure, of course. And continue your great work, Aisling. Thanks so much for bringing the students with you. So that's Aisling McGeehan, Homeschool Community Liaison Coordinator, Ryan Hannigan, transition year student who sits on the Student Council, as I mentioned, and Jessica O'Connor, who's in her 6th year student and has been talking about the benefits of the Breakfast Club. That's all at Finn Valley College in Stranora. So if you have students at that college and maybe you weren't aware of the free breakfast club each morning, and also to the great value for lunches, it might be an option for you, and indeed it might be something that could benefit you financially in the household, etc. Okay, we'll be back with more after a break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Hi, ma'am. Yeah, we've hit the road. Should be there in about an hour. They're so excited to see you. Everyone, say hi to Granny.
With up to 7 seats, the all-new Volkswagen Tayron has more space for families of all shapes and sizes and breeds. Also available as plug-in hybrid. Search Volkswagen Tayron or visit your local dealer.
George, I told you to go before we left.
Volkswagen. Order your 251 with Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny. See connolly's.ie.
Mike Denver in concert with special guest Red Hurley at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 5th. Tickets at Millennium Forum box office and also online. That's Mike Denver with guest Red Hurley at the Millennium Forum on Saturday, April 5th.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin. Spring Madness. New tiles in stock. 45 by 45, €12.99. 60 by 60, €14.99. 75 by 75, €19.99. And 1200 by 600, €24.99. All in stock and ready to go. Visit crawfordtiles.com or call 91 43942.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Now, the weather forecast. It's a simple one. Dry and sunny today with sunshine. It'll be hazy at times, breezy with temperatures of 12 to 17 degrees. Mildest the further west you go in moderate to fresh southeast winds. My next guest is back onto the show, and it is Brian Dawson, Communications and Public Affairs Manager with the Electoral Commission. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning, Greg, and good to be back on with you.
Yes, thank you so much for rejoining us. Right, next bit of research, posters. You love them or loathe them, or there's not an awful lot of indifference to them. What are you looking at as part of this research?
Yeah, well, as you say, Greg, there's a lot of interest in posters, both positive and negative. So in our role as Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission on Commission Tábhachán, we're kicking off research to look at the use of posters as a political communication tool. So, really we're looking at the pros and the cons, because as part of our research programme, we've been given the task to really get under the bonnet of Ireland's democracy, to think about what's working, what's not working, are things working well, in a way that no one really has ever before. So we have posters in our sites, and we're asking people across Donegal to give us their views. Now, I think it's important to say we're not looking for the very quick "I love them" or "I hate them" answer, because really that doesn't tell us an awful lot. We're asking people to come onto our website and give a bit of background about maybe why and the reasons behind your love or your hatred of posters. We're also asking, should Ireland change the rules related to election posters, and what would those changes be? And then if there's anything else that people want to tell us about posters, because it's a bit like the classic Marmite, that people do tend to either really love them or really hate them.
And it's kind of nuanced too, and subjective in that, if you are a fledgling politician, you might not have that brand awareness, and it's good to get your face out there. Whereas if you're a big political party, there's a machine behind you and all that type of stuff. I mean, they are messy. If it were me, what I'd be suggesting, and I've been advocating this for some time, at least in the bigger towns, have a advertising board on a busy approach that rotates candidates or something along those lines, and leave within town boundaries clear. Because I don't think it can be black or white. I think really the solution and the move forward here is going to be in the grey area.
Yeah, and interesting you say that, Greg, because that is the approach that's taken in a lot of European countries, that they have designated areas. We're not saying that. We're kind of sitting on the fence for the moment.
Of course, you have to. Yeah, you're the independent arbitrators, aren't you?
But I suppose in terms of the pros and the cons, obviously, like as you said, posters help raise awareness that a vote is happening. And like I've 2 young kids, and every time the posters go up, they go, "Well, what's going on here?" And it gives actually an opening for a conversation about our democracy and elections and those kind of things. And also it helps people find out who their local candidates are, when you see the individuals. But also it's been suggested to us in submissions that perhaps seeing the posters help people maybe who with intellectual disabilities, or people who might have literacy issues, because obviously the very same picture is on the ballot paper.
So in a way they could be inclusive, but I think we can be inclusive in different ways as well.
Well, there's that. And then I suppose on the con side, as you've mentioned, there's potential environmental impacts, visual pollution, traffic signs potentially being obscured. And as you say, the fear is sometimes that posters could disadvantage candidates who maybe don't have as much of a treasure chest or financial backing to get posters up.
But a lot of the complaints we receive is about how they are used within the law at the moment, too low. You talked about inclusion, visually impaired people catching the corner of their eye on a poster that's too low, obstructing roundabouts, etc. So, unfortunately, we're not coming at this from a start point where even those that are in favour of them are satisfied with the enforcement of the posters. But like everything in life, it's going to be blooming complex, Brian. But when the deadline for submissions to the electoral postering consultation is Friday the 9th of May, so plenty of time. And what comes from this potentially? Now, not potential outcomes, but could it be that the Electoral Commission makes a recommendation, but then, of course, it's going to be up to the turkeys, isn't it, to decide whether or not to adopt it?
Well, you might use that language.
I will use it. You can distance yourself from it.
But I suppose what we're doing, we're using our mandate to gather views, and we're going to be using our own research skills and expertise to look into what happens internationally and in other places, and also around Ireland. Because there are quite a lot of different approaches even within Ireland, say where sometimes I know even in Glenties, the Tidy Towns Committee has been active there. So we'll bring all this together, and then, as you say, we'll be using our powers to make specific recommendations to the Minister and to government. Now, we have been set up specifically for this purpose and for these kind of discussions. There's lots of
the views would be expected to be respected. I think really is certainly and have historically.
It'll form a very active part of the conversation. I think we would say at the least.
All right, thanks very much, Brian. Take care of yourself, Brian Dawson. And I wasn't being disparaging. When I talk of turkeys, it'll actually effectively come down to politicians to decide whether or not politicians should be able to put posters up. So therein lies the rub. All right, listen. Thanks so much. What an hour. It's flown. Right, we'll be back with more, in fact, Community Garda information and so much more besides after we listen now to the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
The gas part about Flowgas is that we do fixed electricity rates for businesses. And what's even more gas is we do solar panels and EV charging for businesses too. So switch today at flowgas.ie/business or call 01 8849 400. Because the gas part is only part of it. Flowgas. Energy for everyone. Terms and conditions apply. Visit flowgas.ie.
Exterior painting time is here, and Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny have you covered. The largest stockists of paint in the northwest, Foy's have Dulux Weather Shield, Coloured Trend Weather, Little Green Exterior, Fleetwood Weather Clad, and all the accessories you'll need. Whether you're after the perfect colour or expert technical advice, Foy's is a place to go. Don't settle for less. Get the best at Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Imagine what you could do with €20,000 to refresh your living space. Highland Radio and Foy's are giving you the chance to transform your home with a €10,000 home makeover draw, plus €10,000 in cash. Get your tickets now at highlandradio.com for a chance to make your dream home a reality.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. The Ceann Comhairle is expected to comfortably survive a motion of no confidence in her this evening. The opposition is tabling the motion over Rona Murphy's handling of the long-running speaking round. It's the first time in the history of the Dáil that such a vote on a Ceann Comhairle has taken place. It's been confirmed that Glenveagh Castle is to close to tours 2 days a week from June 1st. The National Park, including the information desk at the castle, will remain fully operational on all days, and the Gardens Visitor Centre and shuttle bus service will be open and running. Councillor Micheál Culmigala Aspig believes staffing issues are the reason for the amenity closing on Mondays and Fridays, with the exception of bank holidays. Dr. Emmett Johnson is manager at Glenveagh National Park. On today's 9 till noon show, he confirmed that staffing issues are behind the decision to amend opening hours, and while he's hopeful that will change in the future, he says the slow pace of government recruitment means they cannot maintain a full 7-day service for the coming season.
The way that we operate as a government organisation is staffing is organised centrally, and it takes a long time, and budgets and things have to be put in place, and it does take a significant amount of time to recruit staff because they're public servants and there's a lot of different checks and balances that need to be undertaken, and we just simply haven't got the staff on time to maintain the service at it 7 days a week for this year.
The dumping of a dead dog in a clothing bank in West Donegal has highlighted the plague of illegal dumping in the county once again. The Alsatian dog was found discarded, wrapped in blankets in the Falcara area. Councillor Michael McClafferty has condemned the incident. He's urging people to have more consideration for the environment and for those who have to do the cleaning up.
Somebody in their ideology went there and done that, and we'll never know who done it, but it's been done anyway, and it shouldn't have been done, and I totally condemn it. And we'll certainly ask going forward that anything of this manner never ever happens again. And just for people that are minded to dump, just please desist from doing it. And think of the people that are tidying up after you and everything else is going up after you.
Donegal County Council is being urged to develop a better electric vehicle charging network for the county. Councillor Ali Farron says with the huge increase in EVs and just 19 public charging points in Donegal, the current infrastructure is totally insufficient. Donegal County Council is the lead authority for the west and north of the Wild Atlantic Way for ensuring that councils provide a consistent, predictable and interoperable EV charging network. Donegal County Council is expected to appoint a consultant to develop strategies for such in the coming weeks. Councillor Farron says it's imperative that improvements are carried out to support efforts to increase visitor numbers to the county.
If you have an EV car, there's no point in looking at Donegal at the moment because there's only 19 public charging locations. So we need to increase that to be more welcoming to EV chargers. It's different if you own one, you have one in your own private house. If you're a visitor, you don't, unless there's one at your hotel or B&B or Airbnb. So I like the council to seriously consider it. It was been brought up years ago, but we lag long behind all the other counties in my opinion.
There's a fear that Logues Bridge in Ballybofey will be closed due to the deterioration of the structure. There have been ongoing concerns over the condition of the bridge, with an assessment carried out by Donegal County Council revealing the deterioration is worse than was initially believed. The route is used by many motorists as... I do beg your pardon. The route is used by many motorists as an alternative route through Ballybofey. Councillor Patrick McGowan says efforts need to be made to ensure a temporary measure is in place should the bridge have to close due to safety concerns.
If there's any likelihood that this bridge may have to close, we need to have alternative temporary arrangement. We cannot wait for some kind of strategic funding in the next 5 or 10 years, be it 5 million or 4 million or 3, whatever it takes. We need to be looking at Bailey bridges. We need to be looking at something now. We need to have an alternative. As I say, it's a stitch in time. Like and if in hindsight we know it's likely to come under pressure, then we need to have the plans in place.
And dealing with the cost of living crisis could have long-term effects on low-income households. New research from the ESRI shows vulnerable families often make high-risk financial changes to cope, taking out loans, cancelling plans for education or healthcare. Co-author of the report, Dr. Lucy Martin, says the effects could be both persistent and damaging.
So we found that, first of all, making risky changes in order to cope with the increased cost of living was associated with higher stress, and it was also associated with decreased mental health later on.
Weather forecast: dry and sunny, the sunshine hazy at times, breezy today with top temperatures 12 to 17 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with headlines at 11. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Tuesday morning, April the 1st, the death has occurred of Patrick McCabe, Corna Grilla, Glenties, County Donegal, and Carna Lynch, Bailey-Borough, County Cavan, reposing at his residence from 10:30 until 3 o'clock today. Family time please before this and on the morning of the funeral. Removal from his home this evening to the Holy Family Church Eden Infa, arriving at 4 o'clock. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 12 noon, which can be viewed on memoriallane.ie, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, Kev McGuinness, funeral directors or any family member. The death has occurred of Mary Gallagher, née Carolyn, and formerly Staunton, Hazelgrove, Newport Road, Castlebar, and formerly of Glencastle, Belmullet, County Mayo. Mary will repose in Kilcoyne's funeral home, Thomas Street, Castlebar, tomorrow evening from 7:30 until 9 o'clock. Removal on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock from Kilcoyne's funeral home to Armore Island, County Donegal, arriving for ferry at 3 o'clock. Funeral Mass at 4 o'clock in St Crown's Church, Armore Island, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to Alone, Kerv Kilcoyne funeral directors. The death has taken place of Paul Duffy, Lower Knockastoller, Bombay. His remains will repose at Roche's funeral home, Derrybeg, today from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass will take place in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, funeral director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Bridge Banny Greenra of Ranafast, Annagry. Her remains will repose at the family home in Ranafast today from 11 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. House private after Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Star of the Sea Church, Annagry. Interment afterwards in the new graveyard. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, funeral director's Facebook page or the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Danny Gallagher, the Glebe Downings. Remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The Mass can be viewed live on the Meva Parish Facebook page. The death has taken place in Birmingham of William Morrison, fondly known as Donegal Willie, formerly of Ballylusky, Carndonagh. Removal from Kelly's funeral home, Station Road, Carndonagh, this morning at 22:11, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Cecilia McGonigal, née Craig, formerly of Ballynally, Moville. Cecilia's remains are reposing at the home of her sister Christina, 120 St Finian's Park, Moville. Removal from there this morning at 11:30 for private burial in Ballybrack Cemetery at 12 noon. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. And the death has occurred of Seamus Gillespie, Drummy, Brocklis, County Donegal. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killybegs, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny Hospice. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Brendan has forgotten his gym gear. Well, half of it. His shorts and runners. But he's happy as Larry because he's just had a strawberry protein yogurt from Aldi. And he's feeling pumped. So even if he has to work out in jeans, he's not skipping leg day today. Besides, he has a specially selected fillet steak at home for his recovery meal. And a tub of ice cream. That's not really for recovery though, he just likes ice cream. Fair enough, he's working hard. Good food, good mood. From Aldi.
Okay, Garda Grania Doherty is going to be joining us in the next wee while with the latest appeals and information from Garda Síochána, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I love election posters, says one of our listeners. When the election is over, I steal one or two and use them for masking the ground around the walls of the house and perimeter walls when I'm painting them. No more paint spools on the tarmac, and they last for years. I couldn't do without them. Well, we couldn't endorse that, could we? But anyway. There's too much political apathy already, says a listener. We don't need to get rid of posters. Enough of this ignoring the news in favour of, sure, it'll be grand crack. We love to do here. That's laziness, and it's what causes destructive politicians being elected. Good morning, Greg. Could you highlight a recent discovery regarding the psychiatric unit in Letterkenny? Patients are not allowed to smoke outside anymore and have no access to an outside smoking area. I feel this is totally wrong, as obviously if someone who is a smoker is suffering from depression or any mental health issue, being told they can't go outside for a cigarette is cruel and going to exacerbate their anxiety. It's a tricky one. I mean, smoking itself does exacerbate anxiety, but I understand what you're saying. I presume it's part of it being an entirely smoke-free campus. I wasn't aware of this change. But there is no space at all to smoke. And I do understand how if someone's in a stressful situation, as someone who did smoke for some time, that you kind of need to smoke at times. Whether society likes that or not, it's a fact, it's a reality. So I don't know if anyone else has spotted this or it's affected you or someone close to you. Let us know. Or maybe it's something that you see as a benefit. But according to this listener, patients are no longer allowed to smoke outside or have a designated smoking area if they are staying in the psychiatric unit. Let us know if that's something that you wish to comment on as well. Rightio, good morning. Good morning to you. Those planes are allowed to land and refuel because there is a US military base at Shannon. How can a foreign country be allowed to have a military base in our country? We are more bothered about the refueling. If you don't believe me about the base, Google a map of all the US military bases around the world and zoom into Ireland. Hi, Gregory, Glenveagh, regarding the short staffing at the castle. Is this another move to justify the privatisation of elements of the park, as was attempted before? I'd love to know what the staff union representatives have to say. Indeed, well, let's inquire. Greg, I think we need to be more concerned about Glenveagh, our most iconic tourist attraction, functioning fully at all times. Where there's a will, there is a way, but typical Donegal services are always on the back burner. Exemplar hospital services, too true, Greg. The Healy Rays would not let it happen in Kerry. I just think there'd be such a stink caused up about this. You know, there's lots of fantastic facilities. But we've had on Green Navala access problems there. Hopefully that's been resolved to some extent now. The situations that were at Slieve League in the past, thankfully, hopefully they've been resolved now at this point. But Glenveagh, heading into the tourism season, I mean, if I was a local business owner, and I sort of relied on the traffic, maybe there's not that much uplift for local businesses, I'm not quite sure, but on the Mondays and the Fridays throughout the course of the summer, potentially, I'd be going, what's going on here? And I don't blame the local staff, because they have to work with the staff that are allocated to them, but I just feel this would not happen anywhere else. And I don't know how I can find out if Glenveagh is on its own, or if other tourism attractions under the National Parks and Wildlife Services, are they cutting staff elsewhere as well, or not, and not giving the right amount of staff? I don't know. Right. Anyway, but as I say, I just think it's quite a big issue. In response to the closure of Glenveagh on Monday and Fridays, I would suggest what needs is a new manager, but the new guy's just in there, and he explained it really quite clearly that they have applied for staff and they are only able to function with the staff that National Parks and Wildlife Services give them. Free access to nature in Glenveagh, then why is there a fee at Ards Forest Park? That's the parking fee, isn't it? Glenveagh staff problems, says the listener. Hard to believe he has problems getting staff. I've tried and failed at various times over the years to get a job. There has always been known as a difficult place to get into for full employment, as too many people would want to work in a beautiful place like that. I don't think they even employ tour guides anymore for the castle, as they give headphones to visitors instead. It's all about cost cutting, and it's very sad. Again, it's not up to Emmett to sort of say, right, we need 5 staff and to stick a job on Highland Radio's job spots. They have to be approved. It is like nursing. It is like, CDNT. It's public jobs that have to be approved, and the process that has to be gone through, which is crazy, I think, sometimes. Update in relation to the damage to the trees in the Newtown Cunningham area, by the way. Councillor Paul Canning was on to us yesterday, just at the top of the show, and he updated to say that contact has been made and the person who was responsible is going to pay for the damage done to the trees. He thanks everyone who supported the frustration that everyone felt, and he thanked us here at Highland Radio as well. And he went on to say that I'm of the opinion that we fix the trees and move on. Nothing to be gained by taking it any further. The person responsible regrets the incident and wishes it never happened. Thank you all. Now, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does make mistakes and does things stupidly with a fallout or booze or whatever it might be. I haven't a clue what led to this. Or maybe it was just play acting. But anyway, they broke the trees. But they've come forward and apologised, and they want to pay for the repair. I just note on that comment that Paul Canning put on Facebook, I genuinely would be of the view, if this person is not a serial offender, that we all make mistakes. And if you learn from it and move forward, you can become a better person. Sometimes listeners give out to me when I say things like that for being a little soft. Or do you think it is a criminal matter and it should be pursued as such? It's up to you if you want a view on that. It is funny, or isn't it funny, says a caller, that all these Eurosceptic parties love EU money, so much so they'll break the law to get more of it. That's a Le Pen reference there. She was using EU money to pay for her staff. And as I say, I think she knew she was going to get done for it. Talking of April Fools, I got up in the middle of the night and put tea bags and sugar all over the kitchen and turned chairs upside down. So when my man got up for work, he thought someone broke in and started running about the house looking in all the rooms while I lay in bed laughing. I like that. A lot of people wouldn't, because it's kind of, you went a bit far. But you know your partner best. And I can imagine him running around in a panic with a baseball bat or a putter in his hands. Anyway, good one. If you have any other good April Fool jokes, send them through. Also, crazy things fellas do. All women for that matter, but I think us lads are more likely to do silly stuff. A caller says they should scrap the LPT, paying a mortgage all your life. What for? Nothing. They tell you it's for services, public lighting, footpaths, upkeep of parks. If you live in the country, you get nothing, no lights, no roads repair. Until you complain about it, it takes ages to get a pothole filled. Well, the truth is they don't tell you it's for that. It's not really used for that at all. those are services that are provided by the various agencies. What the LPT is really used for is it's a bank of funding, and we get more in LPT in this county than is raised. So there's sort of an equalisation. So we might get money from, Dublin 4 or something where they're paying high rates. And in fairness, we get more LPT than raised in the county. That money's then used by the county, as far as I'm aware, unless it's changed, for funding applications, match funding. So say, for instance, you want to develop Malin Head, you put up a certain amount of sort of this LPT money, and then the state puts up a certain amount, or other agencies do, and it's used to develop services like that. I don't believe there's anyone claiming the LPTs for public lighting and footpaths and things like that. It's never been framed like that to me anyway, but I'm very much open to correction on that if things have changed. But it is, we have access to more LPT than we raise in the county because of this equalisation situation, which I don't believe has changed, and they're not happy about that down in Dublin too, which gives me some pleasure. But also it is kind of used as a funding resource for the type of examples I gave. Right, keep your calls, comments coming into us. We love them. 08660 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. If you were at the Highland concert last night, I hope you had a great time. We had a few reports here. I couldn't make it in the end. Had a very busy weekend being down in Dublin, and another thing on Friday in Belfast, and it just was, sometimes you have to say, right, I actually can't do any more stuff, although I really wanted to go, but then you know yourself when you get home and that kind of stuff. But anyway, hopefully you had a great time, and the music, I'm told, was fantastic and the crack was great. All right, let's take a break because Garda Grania Doherty is joining me in about 2 minutes.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 1st of April. You're playing on the brown sheet for the Daily prize of €400. The reference number is S7. It's game number 14. The numbers are 35, 54, 40, 69, 79, 16, 57, 24, 6, and finally 87. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Exterior painting time is here, and Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny have you covered. The largest stockists of paint in the northwest, Foy's have Dulux Weather Shield, Coloured Trend Weather, Little Green Exterior, Fleetwood Weather Clad, and all the accessories you'll need. Whether you're after the perfect colour or expert technical advice, Foy's is a place to go. Don't settle for less. Get the best at Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny.
With Circle K Extra, save up to 3 cents per litre on fuel every time you fill up. Download the Circle K app today and start saving.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91 26025.
It is April 1st at 10:22. It's time for this week's edition of Community Garda Information, and up in studio with me today is Garda Grania Doherty from Letterkenny Garda Station. Hiya, Grania.
How are you, Greg?
I'm doing good, and thank you so much for your time. And we'll crack on because our first appeal relates to a very sad fatal road traffic collision that occurred at the end of last month.
Yeah, unfortunately, another tragic incident on our roads. So Garda, you're appealing for witnesses following a fatal single vehicle road traffic incident that occurred on the R245 in Carrygart on Saturday the 29th of March. Guardian Emergency Services attended the scene of the incident involving a van which occurred at approximately 1 p.m. So the male driver off the van, aged in his 70s, was pronounced deceased at the scene. No other injuries were reported, and just I would like to say on behalf of us all that in Garda Síochána, as always, We'd like to pass our sincere condolences to the family, Danny's family and close friends. Garda are appealing for any witnesses to this collision to come forward. Any road users who have camera footage, dash cam footage, and who were travelling in the area between 12:10pm and 1:10pm, they're asked to make this footage available to us. Anybody with information is asked to contact Milford Garda Station on 9153060, the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111, or any Garda station that's convenient to you.
Okay, also investigations ongoing into a road traffic collision in Rathmullen.
Yes, this just happened at the weekend also. It occurred at Main Street, Rathmullen on Sunday, March 30th. In and around, so between 12:05pm and 12:10pm, a man was crossing the street there at Main Street, Rathmullen, and he was struck by a black car. This caused him to fall to the ground. The car did stop a distance away, and the driver and the passenger came back to check on the injured pedestrian. Unfortunately, though, no details were exchanged and no further details are available at present in relation to the car involved in the collision. But CCTV is currently being checked. So the driver sustained injuries. They're not believed to be life-threatening in nature. So firstly, we'd like to appeal to the driver to get in touch with Garda.
So it was the pedestrian that received injuries?
The pedestrian was knocked over by the car and they did receive injuries. They got medical treatment, but the injuries aren't believed to be life-threatening in nature. So the driver did come back, the passenger came back to check on this pedestrian. So we're appealing to that driver to make contact with us. We're also appealing, as always, to anybody who may have observed the collision or who may have been in the area with a dash cam to get in contact with Garda in Milford on 9153060.
Yeah, and that's information for the driver who may have believed that is the situation concluded, but obviously Garda continued to investigate and I would hope that they would come forward. Now we're looking at a robbery in Buncrana next.
Yes, this incident happened at Main Street, Buncrana on Thursday the 27th of March between approximately 11:30am and midday. So an altercation took place between two men, and one of these men was assaulted by the other man, and his wallet containing a sum of cash was also stolen from him. So we're appealing for any witnesses to this incident to make contact with Garda in Buncrana on 9320540. If anybody travelled at Main Street, Buncrana between those times with a dash cam, also as always, we're asking them to make that footage available to us. And, just 11:30am to midday. So we're hopeful that, it would have been a busy enough time of the morning. Hopefully somebody can have some information that'll assist us.
And I think really what we're doing there is letting people know, because lots of people have seen it, that's what happened. And if they have any info to come forward, because sometimes we just see something and then move on with our day. A burglary now at the Pierce Road.
Yes, this burglary happened at a business premises in the Pierce Road between 3:15pm on Saturday the 29th of March and 6:40am on Monday the 31st of March, so over the course of the weekend. The rear door at this premises was forced open and the interior of the premises was ransacked. So the contents of the tips jar within was stolen, and also a Samsung Galaxy Light tablet was stolen. We're appealing to anybody who might be able to assist with relevant information to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167100, and as always the Garda Confidential lines there too if anybody wishes to contact them.
All right, a couple of criminal damage appeals. We'll start in Ramelton.
Yes, this incident happened at Gamble Square in Ramelton on Monday the 24th of March between 9:45pm and 10pm. So a food van that was parked up at that location, a sign containing some writing, was bolted to the van and caused damage to it in the process. So we're appealing to anybody who might have been in that area with a dash cam, maybe taxi drivers or the likes might have been round at that time of night, to make that footage available to us. If anybody observed the incident take place, we're asking them also to contact Garda in Milford on 9153060.
So whoever is responsible ripped this sign from the side of the van, and obviously...
No, a sign was bolted to the van.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So damage was caused to the van from the bolt,
I get you now. Right, very peculiar that.
It was a very unusual incident, yeah.
Okay, right.
And somebody hopefully would have observed that.
Which means it stands out like a sore thumb. Okay, yeah. Carnamugga Upper criminal damage.
Yes, this incident happened at Carnamugga Upper, Letterkenny on Wednesday the 26th of March between 4:30pm and 4:40pm. Quite of a short time period there. Two male youths, they were on foot in that area. One of them picked up a stone and threw it, and it caused the window of a nearby house to break. These two youths then, once the window broke and they realised what had occurred, they took off on foot run. Both boys were wearing dark grey trousers. One of them had a black coat and had brown hair, and the other had a blue coat on. He wore a black backpack and he had ginger hair. Firstly, we want to appeal to these youths to come forward to speak to Gardaí. we understand it may not have been done. The damage may not have been caused deliberately. I'd like to say that first of all, and we would appeal to them firstly to come in. That's the ideal situation here if they come forward, even if they tell a parent what happened, and let the parent contact Garda just so we can put an end to it.
I think you've been very fair there, and parents or friends going to recognise them from that description. So very much in the interest to visit the local Garda station or give them a call 9167
Yeah, and look, there is footage there already. We have footage there. The footage has been viewed. These youths will be identified from the footage. It's only a matter of time. So it's in their own interest really to come forward to speak to us before we have to call to their door. Anybody that was in that area actually with a dash cam, as always as well, that would be of great use to us. If they can make that footage available to us in Letterkenny, and anybody with any relevant information, contact us on 9167
All right, and this time Lisnanen Court, Letterkenny.
Yes, this is a criminal damage incident. It happened at Lisnanen Court in Letterkenny on Wednesday the 26th of March between 9 p.m. and 9:10 p.m. The front passenger window of a car that was parked at that location was smashed by a rock between those times. So we're appealing to anybody who may have observed any type of suspicious activity in that area between those times to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167 And if anybody was in the area of Lisnanen Court between 8:45 p.m. and 9:15 p.m. on the 26th of March, we'd ask them, as always, to dashcam footage is invaluable to us. So please make that footage available if you have it.
Okie doke, reappeal now in relation to a stolen bike, Grania.
Yes, we did issue this appeal before, and actually a picture of this bike is on our Facebook page if anybody wishes to have a look at it there. So it's a black cross men's bicycle. It was stolen from Main Street, Bundoran between 10:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. on Saturday the 22nd of February. The bike had been left parked up outside the tourist office. It hadn't been locked or secured in any way. If anybody was in that area with a dash cam, make that footage available to Garda, please. If anybody has any relevant information, we're asking them to make contact with Garda in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
Okie doke, and check out on Garda Síochána and Donegal Facebook page if you want to see an image of that, just in case it fills any gaps in your memory. Right, a fraud and online scam information night's taking place. We do an awful lot of conversations in relation to this, but nothing beats sort of sitting down in person as well. And Fergus McGrory is going to facilitate that, I understand.
Yes, this fraud and online scam, information night is taking place on this week, Thursday the 3rd of April, at the St Vincent de Paul Centre in Rathmullen at 7:30 p.m. Yeah, Sergeant Fergus McGrory, who's our Divisional Crime Prevention Officer, he'll be there. He'll be offering information and advice. Fiona Henry from the AAB Bank will also be there, and I think that's important because there's so many different types of scams coming out all the time. And I've often been at talks where these representatives from the banks are there, and they have all the most up-to-date information in relation to, banking scams and things like that. So it'll be a great event for people to go to. Everybody's very welcome to attend, and refreshments will be served on the night.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so I got this message during the week, and I didn't really know the answer to it, and I didn't want to speculate, but it reads as follows. New legislation, and I'm sure you'll talk about that, means your driver's number, your driver number must be given to allow you to receive an insurance policy, and in fact the insurance companies are obliged to ensure that this is done. So this person drives a car whereby the car is anyone over 25 with a full license to drive it. So maybe it's a work pool car or an open driven car. And they say, what's the crack with this? Will the Garda be able to do me for anything? So they want to comply. They don't want to come. They don't want to see you with your angry face, right? So what is the situation then with open driven cars or pool vehicles? And the driver license number.
Well, I'm just going to run through first of all, just in case anybody isn't aware. I think a lot of people are aware of it, but just firstly, we'll start with the new legislation. So yesterday, the 31st of March, from yesterday onwards, it's going to be an offence for any insurance provider or broker to issue a motor insurance policy where the driver number has not been provided. This means anybody who doesn't provide the driver number for themselves and all named passengers in their policy, they won't be able to get insurance. That's the long and short of it.
Named drivers.
And so you have to, it's mandatory from now on. And every motorist has their own unique driver number. That's at section 4D on your driving licence. Your driver license number stays with you for life. It's, what do we see? The driver license number, the point of really providing this driving licence number to your motor
it's
insurance
unique to us,
company
isn't it? It's our driving DNA, effectively.
It is. It's unique. Everybody has their own. It stays with you for life. Your own unique driver licence number. This will help the guards when the guards are out on the road. There's a database there where they can check. and the fact that your driver licence number will now be attached to your insurance policy will make it a lot easier for guards to see. Maybe if somebody's disqualified, if they've too many penalty points in their licence, they're disqualified. That'll flag up in our system, so it will help road safety efforts on the roads. That comes in from yesterday, but I would say that anybody last week, I think a few questions came in too in relation to this and specific insurance policies. So anybody who has a specific query in relation to their policy, or in this case a policy ordinarily used by them, it's not their policy but it usually does cover them to drive, they should contact their own insurance company directly themselves and query this issue with them, just to ensure that they are still going to be insured, or if their driver licence number is required. Garda, I know the last part of that was in relation to the guards. This person is concerned if the guards stop them, will it affect them in any way if they haven't provided their driver licence number? Garda, you're only concerned with whether or not you're insured to drive. The obligation is on you as a driver to ensure that your insurance is in place. So that's why I'm saying make sure and contact, if you have a query, contact.
But if I'm driving, Grania, and this is only brand new stuff, obviously, but if I'm driving a pool car and my licence number is not registered on that policy, does that mean I'm not insured though, you see? Because that's what they're asking. It's how you interpret that info.
Yeah, no, I know. And I have researched this yesterday, and the only information that I can drive is in relation to named drivers on policy. So that's why my advice is for them to contact their own insurance company, just to query it with them to see how is this going to work, going forward for me as an open policy,
Exactly. I think this came up with buses as well. There was something to do with insurance, and individual buses, they sorted that out first, and then they started working on fleets. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I don't want to confuse anyone, but it is possible that in the first instance, the first tranche of this relates to, the 99% of people. And then the 1% that are driving open-driven cars or pool vehicles. But the onus is on us to check that. It's not for the guards to say, oh, you aren't, go and fix that, because if you drive without insurance, it's a very serious crime, right?
Yeah, and if it's the case that we stop somebody driving at the side of the road and their number isn't, if they have an open driven policy and their number isn't flagging up on the database system, we still can, under the law, we can still make the legal demand for them to produce their certificate of insurance to satisfy ourselves that they are insured.
I'm also have my own insurance policy with my own licence number, and that permits me to drive a vehicle that is insured as well. So even if there were a gap in one area, hopefully. But anyway, it's up to me to check that.
It's up to the driver.
That's
the onus is on the driver, really. And look, the guards won't have any issue so long as you are insured, but the onus is on you as a driver to ensure that your insurance is in place.
Okay, that's everything then. So I think that's all. That's that question answered-ish. Grania?
We have just another couple of wee bits here.
Do we?
Another
Go
couple
ahead.
of wee bits here, just about.
I thought just the questions from last week. Oh, hold on a second. I beg your pardon. That is completely my fault. Because there's a very important week happening at the moment, and it's Social Inclusion Week, and we're covering that actually this week, as well as we did in advance. My apologies, Grania.
No, you're okay. No, and I actually have another quick bit to add at the end.
That's
it's not in the notes. It won't take long.
Go ahead.
No, so Social Inclusion Week, it takes place. The launch was actually last Friday at Ingrain and Theatre. There was a good turnout at that, I believe. So Social Inclusion Week takes place between Friday the 28th of March until Saturday the 5th of April. So as part of that week, the Community Policing Unit here in Letterkenny hosted a coffee morning yesterday morning at Cara House. It was very well attended.
Good.
And we'd like to thank just everybody who attended, who took the time to come in, have a cup of tea, coffee, a treat and a bit of a laugh and a chat with us. It was great. And we had a lot of we actually had a great number of our trainee guards from right across the Donegal division there yesterday as well. And it was a great chance for them to meet and to chat with the public as well. So we'd like to thank actually Cara House also for allowing us to host her, to have our event there. And just one last thing I do want to say, it isn't in the notes, but one of the sergeants actually asked me to mention it today, that we've had a number of calls over the past few days, just in relation to, I think it was the Trócaire area and the Raphoe area. Homeowners have been calling in relation to young people described as being in their early teens, kicking doors of houses at night time, sort of between 8 9 p.m. They're out hanging out, I suppose, at night time playing, but they're causing a lot of distress. And look, I'm not just saying it's not just happening, I'm sure, in Raphoe and Trócaire, but we've had calls from those areas. So we would just like to say it's not crime of the century by any means, but to these people, it's highly distressing, especially if you have somebody living alone, elderly, vulnerable. you know, it causes a lot of distress to those people. So we would just like to maybe mention tonight this morning, to parents, just speak to your young people, just explain to them that while they see it as a bit of fun, it's not fun to the homeowners.
Well, dig into that. I wonder if there's a trend going on or something, because normally there's something driving it. You know?
Usually, well, that's what I thought. Well, I thought that when I heard this at Raphoe and Stranraer and possibly other areas that we haven't received calls about. The evenings are getting longer now. The young people are going to be out playing, having the crack, you know, hanging out together. We understand that, and that's fine. Nobody wants to stop that. But just if parents would mention to them just about staying off other people's property and not causing distress, antisocial behaviour in general, you know.
Yeah. And it is, if you're the victim of it, and I've said this before, Grania, you know, it's not that innocent because you wonder, is it my neighbours? Does someone not like me?
Exactly.
Am I going to get robbed?
Yeah. They might feel they're being targeted
exactly,
in some way,
and then targeted or intimidated, and it really is unpleasant. Okay, thanks so much for that, Grania. That's Garda Grania Doherty of the Letterkenny Garda Station. And if you've any sort of insight or information as to what might be happening, as you heard from Grania, there are 2 different areas were mentioned. Is there an online trend, or are the videos going around on Snapchat or something? Normally there's a driver for something like this when it seems random but in different places. Let us know and we can get that information out there as well. But for now, Grania, thank you very much indeed. That item will be available for you to listen back to on the podcast or watch back on our Facebook pages a little later on, and back with you live on the show next Tuesday, just after the 10 o'clock news.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Donegal County Council are inviting applications for funding under the Minor Tourism Related Works Scheme 2025. The closing date is 5 p.m. on Thursday, 3rd of April. Scheme guidelines and application forms can be accessed on the council website donegalcoco.ie and social media, or by phoning 074 9153 900.
Celebrating 50 years, McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles in Buncrana continues to be Donegal's go-to destination for stunning bathroom makeovers. With a vast selection of premium tiles and bathroom products, our showroom is your ultimate one-stop shop for crafting the perfect space. We've earned our reputation through expert advice, unbeatable prices and a dedication to customer satisfaction. Visit our showroom in Cockhill and Buncrana and see why we've been Donegal's top choice for 50 years and counting. Call us at 07493 63050.
You are very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. A caller says, morning Greg, listening to your show regarding someone on about the smoking situation in the psychiatric unit. It's shocking. I was in visiting family members. The door was even locked, so they couldn't get out for fresh air. They've an activity board up, but when I asked my relative about this, they say it doesn't happen. They're just sitting about all day. Very sad for these poor people. Another, Greg, I saw something in Letterkenny a few months ago. I phoned the Garda station. I was asked some questions, and I'm sorry I made the call. It was uncomfortable. Well, they want feedback like that, by the way. Right, okay. I think I can say good morning now to Patrick Temple, who's the chair of Donegal Tweed Association and CEO of McGee's. Patrick, are you there? Good morning. No, I don't believe Patrick is there. We'll come back to Patrick in a mo. Right. Okay, I'll just make that wee correction there. I live in Raphoe. There's a man who used to deal in cars. He would cycle to Dublin on his bike and then buy the cars and drive them back. He was good at keeping fit. He bought the cars and would take the bike back in the boot. That's exactly what happened to me. Selling a car, fella cycled up from Dublin. This was just busy. I thought he was taking a hand. Put the bike in the car and drove off. It can be crazy. I know a different man who went to Letterkenny to buy a car. The car would only go into reverse, so he reversed it on the back road from Letterkenny to Convoy. You could do anything for a bit of money back in the day. I still don't know how he did it. I know of a story very similar to that where someone reversed a car from Ballyshannon to Donegal town. Crazy times. All right, okay. Excuse me. we had a full storm, but now I can say good morning to Patrick Temple, Chair of the Donegal Tweed Association and CEO of McGee Weaving. Good morning, Patrick. How are you keeping?
Good morning. Good, thank you.
It's great to have you on the programme. Okay, now you're amongst weavers, of course, in our region who've called for special protection, special protected EU status for Donegal Tweed to combat cheaper imitations from across the globe. And it's funny, you know, I remember speaking to a person who had a shop just up and around the corner from McGee's. They dealt in wool and all that type of stuff, and I can't quite remember their names. But even back then, and this is going back ages and ages ago, there was an influx of copycat stuff of particular patterns and materials, and as I say, that's years and years ago, and there was a fear when they were being sold in the region that it was going to damage the brand, right? Because they were fakes. So it's a problem that's been around forever, Patrick.
Correct. It is, and like every industry, really, no matter whatever industry you're in, the competition always comes in many formats. Donegal Tweed is obviously synopsis with County Donegal, where you have a natural fabric which is woven in a plain weave or twill, and the colourful nop or nep spun into the yarn. That is the definition of a Donegal Tweed, and then that description is often used generically by other people around the globe.
That's something maybe we as the general public might not be aware of, Patrick. So there is materials being produced elsewhere that is being marketed as Donegal Tweed.
That's correct. And the key thing about the PGI, the Protected Geographical Indication, is that it allows Donegal Tweed producers to if it says Donegal Tweed, that the consumer will understand that it is woven in County Donegal. Similar to Champagne in the Champagne region in France, where if it's produced in the Champagne region, it's Champagne. If it's not, it's sparkling wine.
And we see other examples, Parma ham.
Absolutely, yeah. Parma ham's a wonderful example, and yeah, absolutely. And it all exists for the agricultural products. This is more the recent, where for the non-agricultural products. So
it's almost like a blanket copyright, really, obviously, isn't it? So individuals, there's no sort of individual ownership of it. This is to give us sort of like a regional ownership of it, almost.
That's right. It's more community based. So the Donegal Tweed Association is comprised of McGee's, Malloy's in Ardra, McNutt's and Downing, Studio Donegal and Kilcarn, Eddie Doherty in Ardra. So
what's next? Okay, so how would one apply for? Do you apply for EU protected EU status? I'm just thinking, you know, is it the roles of the MEPs? You know, it's the MEPs represent us, right? But sometimes, what are they doing for us up here? Get on top of this one. Take this one under your wing.
In fairness, a lot of the MEPs have been supportive, and across the political divide have also been supportive on this, as well as many of the state bodies, Enterprise Ireland, Leo have been very positive in Donegal, and the Design and Craft Council. So there has been quite a widespread support in this, but there still is quite a lot of activity in order to put this all into action. There has to be the certification system behind it, the application. So there is. It's not just a free lunch.
Yeah, I'm trying
like
to
anything. There's lots of activity.
But who takes control? Is this driven by the Donegal Tweed Association? You know, I'm just trying to figure out the pathway to this status.
That's right. So the Donegal Tweed Association does it does a lot of the grunt work, the applications, but then that interlinks then with the political bodies, like the IPO office, for example, in Kilkenny, where then it gets ratified at a European as well as a national level. So it's a sort of two-stage process.
Well, fingers crossed, because it is a globally recognised brand, and a lot of that comes down to quality, and you can't always trust a person who receives a product to be able to differentiate which is the quality local produce, local to us, and the rip-off.
Well, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, it's to make it as simple as possible, and it's simple as that. Yeah.
All right, well, fingers crossed. We'll keep an eye on it. I think it's in all of our interests. It is a feather in our cap, so to speak, our tweed cap. Thanks very much indeed. Take care of yourself. That is Patrick Temple. I actually have. I recorded an interview back in the day when I was with Northwest Radio. I've like tons of these interviews with different people, and amongst them is Lynn Temple, I believe, and we had a sit down chat for about an hour. But I have all these tapes somewhere. And some amazing people actually interviewed over the years. They were all amazing, but it was just like where you sat for an hour on a Monday or Tuesday evening and can't quite remember, just talked about someone's life. And there's dozens and dozens and dozens of tapes. I must try and transfer them, digitalize them. As I say, there's so many different types of people. It was because it was for people from all different types of backgrounds, you know, people that have been, you know, taxi driving for 40 years or the head of a globally recognized company or the fishing industry. Joey Moran, who else? Sean McAniff is in there. Who else is there? Jeez, it's everyone, actually. It's kind of the who's who of around the place. And what's also interesting, too, there's some people interviewed that are still very active today, but they would have been in their 30s or 40s when I interviewed them. So it'd be interesting to see where they thought the life were going, if you know what I mean. Father O'Friel, I mentioned him on the show yesterday. I had a lovely one with Father Owen O'Friel as well. I must try and dig them out. I'd love to listen back. It would be a bit cringy for me, but I would love to hear back the voices. This is not an April Fool's joke. Ask your listeners, do they know the connection with the song Wonderful Tonight and Letterkenny? It was written by Eric Clapton, of course, for his then wife Patty Boyd, whose family originated from Letterkenny. The ruins of the big castle house is at Ballymacool Park. Eric was 80 on Saturday, and a great programme on BBC Two, and it said he wrote the song for his then wife Patty. Went on to marry George Harrison. Just thought it was useful information for dinner table talk. I love that kind of information. I could take that information all day. Anyone got bits of info like that, please bring them into us. Greg, all I hear is students finishing up in college, no work locally. Imagine Glenveagh not doing tours Monday, Friday. Two kind of issues in there, I suppose, but maybe you're saying that there are potential graduates who could do a brilliant job if jobs were approved by the Park and... Can't remember. I need breakfast. I need this Finn Valley College Breakfast Club. National Parks and Wildlife Services.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Charlie's in Letterkenny, they've been serving great food since 1984 to sit in and take away. Everything is cooked to order, so if you're having an all-day breakfast, a burger, or some of their renowned fish and chips, you'll know it's been freshly prepared. And there's a great selection of gluten-free options. Home-cooked food in the heart of Letterkenny at Charlie's. Open Tuesdays to Saturdays, 12 to 8 on the Pierce Road. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
At Bluebird Care, every day is an opportunity to make a real difference. Where you change lives, where you're supported, where you belong. We're recruiting care assistants and nurses across Donegal for roles that offer flexibility, competitive pay, and a supportive team that's always by your side. Whether you're seeking full-time, part-time, or flexible shifts, Bluebird Care is where you can change lives every day. Are you ready to join a team that cares as much as you do? Apply today at bluebirdcarecareers.ie. Bluebird Care, where you belong.
Enjoy real savings this week at SuperValue. Like SuperValue Fresh Irish Family Pack meats, such as Irish beef meatballs, €5 each. Selected SuperValue fruit and veg range, such as Orange Net 5-piece, now 79 cents each. Scan your card or app and get Ariel or Fairy non-bio powder 50 wash, now €10. Make real savings every week at SuperValue.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Well, that's the weather, isn't it? It's going to be lovely, nice and sunny. Irish hauliers say driver behaviour has deteriorated in Ireland since the pandemic, with people running red lights, dangerously overtaking, using their mobile phones while driving, speeding, and not knowing how to use a roundabout. Is this all new? Ger Hyland is of the Irish Road Haulage Association. In fact, he is their president. Ger, good morning to you. I mean, obviously, you got a lot of feedback from your members if you go to the effort of releasing a press release on this.
Absolutely. Our members are arriving home into their transport stations in the evening, some of them traumatised by what they've seen and what they've witnessed on our roads.
It does sometimes feel like a free-for-all out there, Ger. I talked yesterday when we were talking about a dangerous driving instance of I drove to Belfast and back and to Dublin and back, and in terms of enforcement, very, very little, in fact, zero.
Well, I suppose we have to be fair and we have to give credit where it's due. The guards are doing everything they can, but they have a problem. They have a lack of manpower. In 2013, there was a total of 804 guards working in the traffic corps. In July 23, that has fallen to 664. So, you know, they have very limited resources. To be fair to them, they're doing what they can. But the problem is you have go-safe vans on the edge of towns, on the edge of villages. All they are is a money-generating machine. That's really all they are, shooting fish in a barrel. The accidents are happening late at night, majority of them late at night on country roads, inner towns and villages, out in the country. There's no policing on these roads.
Your drivers are also reporting not only dangerous behaviour, but just attitudes, a change in attitudes, more aggression, less patience. Your drivers are noticing that too.
Absolutely, intimidation. We've had drivers talk about where a car has been stuck behind them on a country road, and the car eventually passes them maybe on a blind bend, and not alone do they pass them on a blind bend, they then brake check them.
Which is problematic. That's particularly problematic for someone driving such a big, heavy vehicle, having to change down gears or what have you. Also, too, your members are in an elevated position, so they get a bird's eye view of what drivers be at. Do you hear any reports about that?
Sure. Like, it's unreal what's going on there. As you say, we have a bird's eye view. We're looking straight down into the cars and the vans. The texting, they're watching videos on the phone, they're on YouTube. There's people, not so much maybe up in the northern side of the country because you don't have the motorways that they have going into the likes of Dublin, but our members are coming back and telling us that they've seen people eating their breakfast going along in the morning in the traffic going into Dublin.
And of course, the net result of all of this is fatalities on our road and serious life-altering injuries and the knock-on effects that has on us as a wider community. You talked a little earlier on of Garda enforcement, right? That's one element of this, and if they had better resources, they could enforce more. But am I correct in saying that you've also suggested the mandatory installation of black boxes in cars, which would flag I suppose those driving dangerously? What's the proposal there? Well,
especially for the first 2 years while they're driving under an N plate, that if the insurance company had sight on their driving, and it would also give them 2 years experience of driving properly. And that would be a huge help. It's a lot. These accidents are a lot of young people. The injuries they're sustaining, the injuries other people are sustaining. But what is very seldom talked about is the trauma that it has on the likes of our drivers being involved in these accidents, coming on the scene of these accidents, for first responders to these accidents, for the doctors, for the people that's trying to piece these people back together. The ambulance drivers, all of this, the guards, all of these people have to go home, to have to live a family life. And stuff that you see on the side of a road in a bad accident, it doesn't leave you. It certainly doesn't leave you for a long, long time.
No, indeed. Okay. And listen, I mean, we all want safer roads, don't we? Thank you very much indeed, Ger. That's Ger Hyland of the Irish Road Haulage Association. He is their president. Is that something that you've sort of observed? Maybe you are a professional driver or not. I wouldn't be very good at timelining it to whether it's post-COVID or not. That being said, of course, those of us who were able to get out to work had the roads to ourselves at that time. But I don't know. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. I talked yesterday the black box. I think I really think they're a great option. As I mentioned, Aaron on a provisional license got insurance for €1,600 on a black box, and his renewal with a full license was €850. Like, I couldn't have even dreamt of insurance rates at that price even when I was back learning to drive. So there is advantages for younger drivers, but I mean, obviously sometimes they're not in favour of them because they feel they're quite restrictive. But he wants the Irish Hauliers Association says maybe black boxes for everyone who's newly qualified, regardless of age, for 2 years. What do you think about that and the topic more generally? You know the details. Get in touch.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Shannon Airport has officially been voted Ireland's favourite airport.
Which was great to hear. We've always thought we had handy parking, short queues, great people and smooth security. It's just nice to know everyone agrees. Officially Ireland's favourite airport. Shannon Airport, making it easy.
Live electricity wires are always near, and coming close to them can be dangerous. So always ask yourself, are you sure it's safe? Look out for electricity wires above and below you. If in doubt, call us on 1800 372 999. It might just save your life. ESB Networks. Stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Easter decorations are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price Easter decorations are gone, they're gone. Also, all mops and buckets and all garden water features are still all half price. But when all our half price mops and buckets and all our half price garden water features are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
And it's 11 o'clock, which means we're heading into the last hour, and we'll get a news update now, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Garda are renewing their appeal for witnesses following a fatal single-vehicle road traffic incident that occurred on the R245 in Carrigart on Saturday afternoon last. Danny Gallagher, who was in his late 70s and from the Glebe Downings, lost his life in the tragedy. Meanwhile, Garda are seeking information about an incident on Main Street, Rathmullen, shortly after 12 noon on Sunday, in which a man was struck by a black car while crossing the street, causing him to fall to the ground. The car stopped a distance away and the driver and passenger came to check on the injured pedestrian. However, no details were exchanged and the driver is being urged to get in touch with Gardaí, as well as anyone who may have witnessed the collision or has dashcam footage. The Dáil will debate a motion of no confidence in the Cancorla this evening. It's the first time in the history of the Dáil that such a vote will take place. The opposition says it has no confidence in Verona Murphy over her handling of the controversial speaking row. Staffing issues have been confirmed as the reason that Glenveagh Castle is to close to tours 2 days a week from June the 1st. The National Park, including the information desk at the castle, will remain fully operational on all days, as well as the gardens, visitor centre and shuttle bus service. The manager of the facility confirmed today that the slow pace of government recruitment means they cannot maintain a full 7-day service for the coming season. Homeowners in parts of East Donegal are said to have been left distressed following reports of young people kicking the doors of houses at night. Gardaí have been contacted by a number of concerned homeowners in Rafo and Stranorlar over recent days. Garda Grania Doherty is urging parents to speak to their children to highlight the implications of antisocial behaviour on vulnerable and elderly people. Donegal County Council is being urged to develop a better electric vehicle charging network for the county. Councillor Ali Farn says with the huge increase in EVs and just 19 public charging points in Donegal, the current infrastructure is totally insufficient. There's a fear Logues Bridge in Ballybuffet will be closed due to the deterioration of the structure. There have been ongoing concerns over the condition of the bridge, with an assessment carried out by Donegal County Council, which has revealed that the deterioration of the bridge is worse than what was initially believed. Anishka Erin is appealing to customers in Ramelton and Milford to conserve water. The utility says the recent spell of dry weather has resulted in low lake levels in Milford, the area's water source. As a result, customers are being asked to be mindful of their usage to allow supply to catch up with demand and enable reservoirs to fully replenish.
What did you just say?
Allow reservoirs to fully replenish?
About what? We're out of water already.
Yeah, I know.
The sun's only been out for a day. I predicted next week. I know it's not related, but...
Yeah, I know. A couple of hours of good sunshine and no water left. Yeah.
Okay.
Disgraceful.
Yeah, all right, okay. Thanks very much, Michaela Clark of the newsroom. Okay, we'll be back with... That came far quicker than even I was expecting. Eddie Russell's in Kilmacrennan. Hiya, Eddie. He's in Dromore in Kilmacrennan, and he is 90 today. Happy birthday to Eddie. Lots of love from Eddie, Rosemary, and your grandchildren, Grania, Eilish, and Eamon, and all of us here at Highland Radio.
If your dog chases after sheep, it's not your dog's fault. If your dog attacks a flock, savaging sheep and lambs, it's not your dog's fault. So wherever you bring them, keep them under control at all times. Because whatever they do, it's not your dog's fault. It's yours.
Your dog is your responsibility. Visit gov.ie/dogs to find out more. A message from the Government of Ireland.
It is the 9 till noon show. Just a wee reminder for you, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000, or call us on 074 91 25,000. Right, okay. I'm joined on the programme now by Chris Sherlock, who's a broadcaster, author, mental health advocate and anti-bullying campaigner. Chris, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Chris, you can't hear me just yet. All right, Chris is joining us. I'll go back to Chris in a second. I'll go to some of your comments as he joins us. I've never heard such BS about driving numbers. The numbers have existed since you got your licence. I never got taking out a policy without producing a licence. If the insurance companies choose not to use that information until today, then it's hardly the driver's fault. When you look for a quote for some insurers for the last number of years, they'll tell you if you have points, then you've got them, and when they expire, so the Garda can't or couldn't till today. Chris, are you there? No, Chris, I will bring Chris back in again. I don't think he can hear me. We'll pop him out and bring him back in again. Another issue, says the listener, which is commonplace in Glenveagh, is cyclists passing from behind and not ringing their bells to alert walkers, especially children. I had to pull my child to safety a few times. It's only a matter of time before someone is badly injured. A separate cycle path is needed, or just, I suppose, common courtesy should do. Do we actually have to have lines and signs to tell us absolutely everything? Can we not work it out ourselves? Morning, Greg. The door kicking must be a trend, as my uncle and auntie in County Fermanagh have suffered this for the last few weeks too. Their PVC door lost a panel due to the kicking. Yep, okay, it must be some sort of a trend or other. A caller says, we were driving out the dual carriageway out of Letterkenny recently and noticed how pristine it is. We saw the refuse sack along the way, so knew there are local people out keeping it this way, and I think they need a big thank you. I've never even seen the dual carriageway with 0 litter before, so well done there. One last chance. Chris Sherlock, are you there?
I am, yes.
Don't
Good
do
morning,
that to
Greg.
me,
How are
Chris. You know, you're sitting there looking. I don't know if you're looking at me. I don't know if you're checking your emails. Good morning to you, Chris. I tried to take you in the first time, and just the audio didn't connect. I appreciate your time. How are you keeping, Chris?
I'm okay, Greg. No, not too bad. How's life with you?
Life is good. You know what I mean? Life is good. Nothing big happening at the moment, which is good. Right, this is a difficult one to discuss because, you know, we have a slot here, Chris, where we talk about TV shows and what have you. We try and avoid spoilers, but we're talking about a show that's everywhere at the moment, and that being Adolescence on Netflix, and most people may have watched it or not. But if you haven't watched it and we accidentally spoil it, maybe just tune out for a couple of minutes. But what conversation, in your view, has Adolescence triggered?
There's a lot of triggering conversations in it, Greg, to be honest. And I think it was always designed, the writers, Jack Thorne, set out to let us into this world of incel culture, toxic masculinity and online bullying within the drama. And it's very well portrayed, very well captured, I have to say.
And I think, too, what it exposes is perhaps the ignorance or lack of knowledge that some of us have when it comes to what our young people are consuming, how they're being influenced, what is forming their views and opinions and their attitudes.
Yeah, like, you see, when you're told to be performing a certain way, like, toxic masculinity is like, when you say like role models, or it could be your father or mother, whatever, act a certain way, do this, do that, and it's all well and good, but when you think about it, it condenses people, and it doesn't let them be themselves. So they have to explore that and get to know themselves more importantly before they realize every other avenue. But what it captures as well, and I can relate a lot to the third episode. And I know you don't want to give too much away,
well,
but
it's so being so widely talked about, Chris. I did give listeners a warning, so we have to be able to talk about it too, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so there's a 1-to-1, and it's with the young lad Jamie Miller and his therapist that is provided for him, and a lot happens in that episode. But there's one part where Jamie gets very angry, and that is something that we slightly overlooked. Now, I know it's been talked about, in terms of great acting, but the method in there that seems to be hidden is that he's always trusting his therapist, and he's always asking, will I see you again? And that's very vital for people that are going through, avenues of mental health. And when you're talking to a therapist, because I know, firstly, from finding a child therapist, that you can get comfortable and you can talk better and you can explore the options that's needed, per the situation, and, get the help that's needed throughout. But in there's that whole anger issue that was condensed up until that moment. And I found myself being so relatable with that, because when I was bullied, I was verbally abused, I was physically abused, I was thrown downstairs, pushed against lockers, the usual physical bullying stories that you would hear. And I got so, to put it mildly, I got so disconnected from the world, and I didn't want to know anything about anyone. I just wanted to be curled up in a ball and left in the corner, which turned out that I was being isolated, and then I was isolating myself from it, and then I was getting frustrated because I couldn't go and do things that I wanted to do because I had no trust in people and I had no confidence in myself. So when you have toxic masculinity overlooking things, and when you're told to act a certain way and do a certain thing, or you need to perform, or be a part of a team or whatever, it gets totally lost.
But
in
also
translation.
in relation to that, and everyone's case is different, Chris, but if you are sort of ostracized from your friends, if you are told that you're ugly or you're this or you're that, okay, and you feel completely isolated, you've got something in your pocket potentially that has answers. You've got people that know there are people out there like that, and they can try and sort of maybe persuade you to their way of thinking. Or to exploit that loneliness. They become the big brother, they become the peer, they become the father figure that you talk of. And also I think that's really something that we need to be aware of as parents and caregivers, that that's an extra layer that wouldn't have been there for people of a certain generation. You know what I mean? That there are, they get me, they understand me, they can radicalize me, they can make me hate a certain group of people, for an example.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, as well, with social media playing a big part in things, you have to look at role models, and I'll touch on that in a second, if you don't mind, Greg. But before we get to that, parents need to be more vigilant and sort of watch what they're doing online themselves, and what their kids are doing online, because you can quickly Google something and try and sort of self-diagnose yourself with this and that and the other in the process. But it's grand for quick answers, but it's not the overall thing. So to use your toolbox and coping mechanisms is something that you need to deal with a medical professional, honestly. But when you look at role models, then that they need to be watched closely, as in the parents need to watch. So if someone's, for example, if someone's watching a Katie Taylor match and someone's a huge fan of Katie Taylor, great, she's doing positive things for women in sport, number one, big, massive achievements that she's doing, and good on her, and good on to the young people that want to follow in her footsteps. But then, and of course, up until recently, McGregor would have been one of those people that young men could have looked up to. But as an example, him going out getting speeding tickets and being up for this, that, and the other, all these negative things. So kids then become thinking, oh, this, because he's doing it, I can get away with that when I start
I
driving.
can do what I want. I can get away with what I want. No doesn't need to come into my conversation. If I want it, I can have it. And if I do that, I become incredibly successful. Forget about the politics of it, but that's the reality. That's the image that's given there. I can do whatever I want. I can swagger around, and if I want it, it's mine.
Exactly. And this is another thing that I've been talking about lately, Greg. And, in terms of bullying, it's often where the kids themselves are bullying the parents. And this is something as well that's not being talked about too much, because the demand for a phone, whether it be for a birthday or Christmas, they're online and they're doing this and they're being exploited. Parents are being exploited. So
you see, Chris, the problem with that, and I'm sorry, I'm not cutting across, it's just for the conversation.
No problem.
The problem with that is, you see, as parents as well, we've been conditioned to be concerned of our children's mental health. And quite rightly so, right? But it's hindering to some extent as well our parenting. Because if I ran into my room, I was allowed to stay in that room until I come out. My parents would say, good enough for him. But now parents are thinking, am I in there self-harming? Am I in there with suicidal ideation? And then the parents go back and sort of they try and mollycoddle the child then. Like I just think we've been neutered a little bit in how we can parent, because then we're also blooming sensitive. You're afraid that something dramatic could happen to your child. And I think that all feeds into some of the problems in terms of resilience with young people, but also, I think us as parents need to take a look at ourselves as well, because we're so afraid of parenting but damaging the child in the process.
Yeah, I'm not a parent myself, but I get what you're saying. And when you think, and they explore this in the series as well, where the parents in the 4th episode say, well, he was up in his room, we thought he was safe, and rightly so, he's safe, he's there, he's present, exactly where he is, but is he safe from the whole online stuff? And that's why I want to encourage parents to try and talk to their kids more. Don't let them just be up there in that digital world. Okay, yes, they're safe physically, but mentally, what they're looking and what they're absorbing is a whole different thing. And just talk to them constantly. Oh, what have you been looking up? Sit down and watch this adolescence with them and create a conversation, because believe it or not, Greg, what we're exactly doing here by talking, it's the simplest thing we can do, but it's the most effective thing we can do, and learn right from wrong, and just explore opinions within the process.
And I think people, especially those that think for themselves and genuinely do think for themselves, need to think really clearly and look at a situation. There are people whose their career is toxic masculinity, okay? And what very cleverly they've done is align themselves politically so that there's a crossover in views and people come to their defense, because the way things are now, things are so polarized that you blindly defend someone. So say, for instance, Andrew Tate, for an example, him and his brother are despicable human beings, absolutely despicable. Let me put that straight. But very cleverly, they've aligned themselves to right-wing politics. Okay, now that's not a bad thing. A lot of people in the right of politics have their views, more conservatism, they think we need to pull back. That's okay, but they're using that as a shield. Okay, so they say that whatever we do, we didn't do, but because we're on the right of politics, we're being attacked for that. And they're very, very cleverly protecting their empire, their reputation, because they've got very good people, because you can have political views of all different types and be a very good person. They've got very good people batting for them. And Conor McGregor, I'm not saying is necessarily a take character, right? But he very cleverly has aligned himself to a certain type of politics because it masks and protects him from clearly stuff he has done, whether it's the civil trial is appealing, people could dispute that or other. But there is no coincidence because because then you instantly become a victim, and it protects your empire because you've got really good people batting for you. And I just hope the free thinkers see that. You know, it doesn't mean your politics are wrong, but if you've got people coming into your politics for your protection, you need to be really aware of that.
Oh, for sure. And have your own opinion. Don't be just latching on to what all these guys say, because this is where more bullying becomes prominent. Because once people are in a position of power, they try and like you just said there, Greg, just to reiterate that they plough their opinions and they want to bring you on their side. And 100% free thinking, it's something that we forget, that we get so caught up in, oh, I see what he means. Yeah, I can go with that. And it's just an easy way out of agreeing rather than stand up for your own belief and listen to your inner voice and speak out. And, there might be similarities, but there might be that's something greater. And, hammer that home rather than just going, oh, yeah, I agree with that, and just brush it under the table, because that's where a lot of things go in this day and age, sadly.
All right, Chris, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Take care of yourself, look after yourself. Thank you. Chris Sherlock, broadcaster, author, mental health advocate, and anti-bullying campaigner, because, as I say, and it doesn't mean it's left or right. And I don't want to get into the hatred of the politics, because, as I say, right, if right-leaning thinking, there's lots and lots of people in this country that would be classed, that would have great sympathy to what could be labelled far right. Okay, now I'm not labelling anyone far right. I'm saying, but whether you're in the left or the right or centre or wherever it is, please make sure that there are not people exploiting your political beliefs for a human shield, effectively, because it also actually is potentially damaging to your political movement, whether it's left, right, middle, left or right, middle of centre, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. When we were sent to our rooms, there was nothing in there. There was no phones, no computers, just a bed. Modern families have very modern problems indeed. And I'm just saying, do you feel I'm correct in what I'm saying in that, in terms of parenting, I don't think my parents could say anything to me or send me to bed or whatever, and they wouldn't necessarily think that, I was going to become depressed, or I was going to become this, or I was going to have an eating disorder, or I was going to, harm myself. I just wonder if parents now are feel somewhat, in terms of parenting and particularly discipline, that their hands are tied because they're concerned of the mental health of their child. Again, I could be a million miles out. I'm just curious. Right, a quickie before the break. Good morning to you. I have no name on this. Caroline, there's no name on this text. Caller, are you there? Can you... No, that's a comment. This is the one you handed me. I beg your pardon. Okay, I'm going to go to Susan after this really short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Don't miss A Night at the Opry, the brand new country concert show in the Millennium Forum Derry on the 17th of April. Join Johnny Brady, Claudia Buckley and John Hogan as they sing the biggest hit songs in country music in the Millennium Forum Derry on the 17th of April. Tickets now on sale from Venue Box Office. That's A Night at the Opry, April 17th.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Heading off on holiday? Don't forget to park to relax. Travelling for business? Well, then just park to work. Flying for a city break? Simply park to explore. No matter where you're going, you'll find safe, secure shuttle parking just 6 minutes from the airport at Dublin's newest airport car park. Park to Travel. Book online now to guarantee your space, and then simply park to go. Park2travel.ie. For when you need to park to, well, travel.
Mike Denver in concert with special guest Red Hurley at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 5th. Tickets at Millennium Forum box office and also online. That's Mike Denver with guest Red Hurley at the Millennium Forum on Saturday, April 5th.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It's 23 minutes past 11. Susan, sorry for holding you there. We're talking home insurance. What's your experience that might help others?
Yeah, I was renewing all my insurance, my car, my home and all the rest, and my insurance went from over 300 to 600 for my home this year. So then I was asking them why was that? Why did it get? Because my car insurance didn't go up that much, but why the house insurance took such a jump? And they said now what they're doing is it's going by what you would have to rebuild your home.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cost of like building your architects, your. So if I want to go price around now with other companies, I have to figure all this out myself.
There are tools for that, by the way, Susan.
What it would cost? They said it's something to do with the cost of, everything's gone up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all linked to that, Susan. Did you? But in terms of ringing around other companies, certainly do that. They'll just sort of. They ask me what my square footage is. I haven't a clue. I just say it's a bungalow with how many bedrooms and all that type of stuff. But a 300 to 600 euro jump, and you're in the position whereby your different insurances are coming out at the same time, which is an absolute pain, isn't it? Renewals are coming at the same time.
I don't know. I budgeted for all that, but I haven't budgeted for my house insurance to be double.
Exactly. I got a renewal, and I think it went from 6 to 9, and I got it for $5.50 in the end. So it is really worth shopping around, Susan. And they do have a tool that works stuff out for you, so you don't have to do it. But don't renew the double anyway. I certainly wouldn't.
No, I did say to them, look, I just can't justify paying this at the minute anyway, the 600, because then that's going to go from that to whatever next year. But I just thought it was, I don't know, it was just.
No, I know what you're saying, Susan, because
what they're saying is it's because I've been in my house nearly 20 years, and now this is, well, they says, look, you just look at it as if your house burnt down.
Well, that's it, because,
that's
I
what
think...
Said to me then. If your house burned down in the morning, that's what you would be paid. That's what you have to take into consideration.
And there's a few little bits into that. I mean, you're quite right in what you're saying. Say, for instance, if you were able to sell your house, and I'll just pick a round number, 200,000 euro, if you had to rebuild that, you wouldn't be fit to be rebuild it for 200,000 euro. But what the problem is as well, Susan, if you under-insure, you only... So say, for instance, you were under-insure your house by 30%. You don't actually even get the full amount you've insured your house for. You get that less 30%. So if you under-insure your property, you actually get a less percentage of the actual insurance that you've insured your house for, if that makes sense. But certainly shop around, Susan. It's and if you don't mind, would you let us know what you eventually get your house insurance for, if you remember?
Sorry.
If you renew your insurance, like if you do get a renewal, let us know, because as I say, you're going from 3 to 6, and I'm just curious if you shop around, if you get it much cheaper. But listen, thank you. It's a words to the wise, and I suppose anyone due to renewal need to keep an eye on that as well, because it is linked to rebuild costs.
Yeah, I know insurances have gone up and all the rest, but still.
All right, listen.
But anyway, we'll get it sorted.
Okay, Susan, listen, thanks very much for that. That's Susan in her position. Right. Hi, Greg. I eventually watched Adolescence, as I don't like true stories generally, but to be honest, it just showed me the dangers of children having unlimited, unsupervised internet access. A child on the computer day and night, and parents allowed it. What was the toxic masculinity shown? All I seen was a loving but abused father doing his utmost to control himself, his repressed emotions, and the family obviously seen So was the father toxic, or the mention of the Tate online? Who was the toxic person? I mean, a loving, caring father trying the best is not toxic. Toxic masculinity has become a catch-all for negative online influences. I mean, you can have toxic masculinity in your own house. You could have a father that's abusive to your mother. That would be toxic masculinity. But really what we're talking about is that influences from outside the house, generally speaking, that you're told that, women are this, and, eventually a woman says yes and that'll do, and keep asking until the no becomes a yes. And, women are commodity, you're my property. That kind of stuff that can get into your head. You throw pornography in on top of that as well. And, the young mind as it forms can be very badly influenced. And also too, young girls, I feel sorry for young girls also, in that, they can be exposed to that and then believe they have an unreal expectation of what society expects of them, which is neither helpful as well. Right, okay, so do you remember, and I said we'd get to the bottom of it, we got a question from a listener, and it read as follows. Buncrana Post Office is being moved. They plan to relocate to SuperValue in Buncrana. They will downsize. Renovations are currently happening in SuperValue in the post office, so I imagine it'll be moved soon. Well, we checked in with An Post, and they say nothing planned as of yet, and if at all is the honest answer. So there's nothing planned at all, or certainly there's no current plan to move the post office. Everything else is speculation. So An Post, and you can take it as you wish, An Post say there are no plans to move the post office at the moment. We did have a couple of questions about Buncrana Post Office, and as I say, I did commit to try and get answers for you. When I say I mean Caroline, and assisted by Shannon, of course. Right, a vote to no confidence. She's making history again in Camcorla. Verona Murphy, one of our go-to political commentators, Paddy Rooney, will be joining me in a moment. We'll get his views on, we do, don't we, know the outcome of the vote, but what does it mean for the effective functioning of the Dáil for the next 5 years?
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents the Ultimate 70s Night, Sunday, October 26th. Get ready for Shawadi Wadi and the Bay City Rollers live at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Sing and dance the night away to all the hits. Tickets on sale at ticketmaster.ie and hotel reception. Don't miss this unforgettable night, October 26th at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny.
On Cloud Trainers' new collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Cloud Monster 2 from Max Cushioning and Max Energy Return. Cloud Runner 2 with Cloud Tech cushioning to absorb impact. Enjoy this supportive feel-good running shoe. On Cloud Trainers for all-day activity with comfort and versatility. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click on bmcsports.ie.
Muir Leon Shaw, Roll Call for Relay. Roll Call for Relay is calling on all schools, Montessoris and creches from every corner of the Northwest who's up for doing a simple school challenge. Boys and girls, do you have any ideas for a challenge?
Yeah! Go on the slide or do skipping. Climb 2 mountains in one day. A skydive.
To take part and have a bit of fun, simply email rollcallforrelay@gmail.com or check out our socials for more information.
Okay, so the Dáil will debate a motion of confidence in the Camcorla Verona Murphy later. It's expected Murphy will comfortably survive the vote, but not without a few bruises. Obviously, government and their supporters will vote confidence in her. The opposition, around 70, I think, will vote against her, but she will win comfortably. Paddy Rooney, our political analyst and chair of Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, is with me. So, Paddy, good morning to you. The outcome of this is a fait accompli, but not the kind of history Verona Murphy would want to be making.
No, absolutely not. One of the things, though, Greg, that I'm completely mystified about over and over again is about the value or the contribution of government advisors, or the people that get very lofty six-figure salaries and they advise the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach and government ministers. And there's only two things that they have to do, really. They have to look back and help individual ministers to respond to something that happened yesterday. But they're also sort of tasked with the job of actually looking at the political landscape in the future and to identify any kind of quicksand or pitfalls and make sure that the individual ministers or government don't misstep into them. And was there nobody in the room at all with Micheál Martin, the Taoiseach, to tell him that when it became known that Michael Lowry was going to form a technical group, for Micheál Martin to lift the phone to him, because he has a relationship with him now, you know, whether he wants to admit to that or not. And he could say to Micheál Martin, not now, if you want to do it later until we get the government and we get the committees and all formed. But he didn't do that. He decided, he attempted to, or he's going to do now, he's going to bull ahead with that. And Verona Murphy's going to survive this afternoon, but, you know, she's going to be damaged over this. And in one way, she's sort of innocent enough, and another way, I suppose she's part of the problem. If you look at any of the photographs, for instance, on RTE's social media page, or a lot of the photographs in the national media, for some particular reason, they always choose a photograph where Verona Murphy is sitting very close to Micheál or to Michael Lowry in the back benches. They're for whether it's real or imaginary, they're trying to associate the two of them being together. And I don't think, you know, that once she's got into the chair, she's done anything actually wrong, because she's applied standing orders. She did get legal advice. Legal advice said it wasn't the right thing to do, but she's actually not helping herself the way that she's conducting herself. It made painful viewing a couple of days ago when she was standing in the Dáil, moving her head from side to side, Greg, and saying, you know, you're making a holy show of yourselves over and over again. The optics of it looked bad, and she didn't look like strong, and she didn't look like she was in control. Really.
Well, let me ask you. You talk of the political advisors and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not sure where in this I'm wrong, and I'm open to correction in it. But to form a government, and there was many ways the government could have been formed. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil opted to do business with Michael Lowry. And a first part of that business was Verona Murphy to become Cam Corla, which is quite a concession, really. And then, as part of that too, was this speaking row, right? And there was many opportunities where the government could have sort of backed out of that, and as you say, maybe leave it for another day. And not only that, but then to agree a new system where this group of independents proportionately get more speaking time in the Dáil than Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil backbenchers. And all of that, and more, but all of that, to continue to push that through, and the optics of it as a whole, I really find quite remarkable, Paddy. I really, really do. That it just, I don't understand. I would love to know what the conversations are behind the scenes, or why they're prepared to actually risk the reputation of the government, even amongst government supporters, for all of this. I don't understand it.
Well, you know, in my opening remarks to you, Greg, you know, I talked about the government advisors, right? So that's gone now. That opportunity is gone. But the golden rule is, when you're in a hole, stop digging here. And the advisors are still telling Micheál Martin to go ahead with this. But, you know, he needs to be really, really careful about this could move across from Verona Murphy to him. I mean, Albert Reynolds got tripped up. He talked about the small things in government. He got dumped out of office over a very small issue because he casually brushed the real concerns that Dick Spring had about the appointment of Harold Whelan to the High Court judge. And Harold Macmillan, the British Prime Minister, said before about circumstances, my dear boy, about toppled governments. I mean, there is a real issue at the back of this. I have to say that when all of this started off first, I had a very philosophical attitude towards it, and I found the whole thing really sort of semi-amusing until I didn't find it amusing. And the reason I didn't find it amusing was I happened to come across an interview with Ivana Bacik, the leader of the Labour Party, outside the plinth of Dáil Éireann. And if we think about the speaking rights and who can do what, I suppose, let's see how this is going to manifest itself into real life here. And she made the point then that if Micheál Martin and Simon Harris want to give out all these baubles or concessions to opposition or to the rural TDs to get their support, and if they want to give away, you know, things like have a historical high number of 23 of them, bring them all into the cabinet, let them sit around the cabinet table, up their salary to 200,000, give them their pet projects in their constituencies, let them have preferential access, and all of that. But she objected to the fact that Micheál Martin couldn't give away what was not his to give. And she was talking about a democracy and how they work. And in a healthy democracy, whatever about an elected government, you also need an elected opposition, and you need a very strong media. Now, you know the story, Greg, about what's happened to the media all over the world and social media, and the fact that a lot of broadcasters, publicly funded broadcasters, don't want to offend governments because they're in hot to them and so on. And she objected to the fact then that they were giving away time that was belonged to the opposition. I mean, this government actually, to all intents and purposes, started very poorly. There's a whole plethora of things out there, whatever about the big ticket items. I mean, James Brown seems to be caught in the headlights in housing here. He's constantly rowing back on what he said was convictions he had earlier on. 3 weeks ago, we had a group of parents in Dublin that marched from O'Connell Street to the Department of Education because they were all parents of children with autism, and they have no school places in September. And there was nobody no political person in the Department of Education to come out and receive a letter of protest from them people, despite the fact that we have a senior minister for education, we have a senior minister for children, we have a junior minister for children, we have a junior minister for children with disabilities, we have a junior minister for people with mental health problems, and yet there was nobody to come out. Did you hear Michael Lowry or did you hear Danny Healy-Rae on any social media or media platform objecting to this? Of course you didn't. So this is actually very, very real here. And Micheál Martin has decided to stick in with this. But the opposition, I suppose, and remember there's 5 political parties now that are opposing this. The government are consistently saying that this is Sinn Féin led, which always worries me when I hear them saying that, because they're trying to put some kind of a spin, but there's actually 5 different parties that are objecting to this. And this is very real. Poor Verona Murphy happens to be caught up in all of this. She will survive, but I expect that she's going to be damaged over it.
Well, how does that work going forward? Because, you know, tomorrow we've got the tariffs being announced and you know, the headwinds potentially are going to be really quite challenging for the next while. The trust between the opposition and Verona Murphy has now been lost, I would imagine, and I don't know if that's a relationship that can be rehabilitated. Is today the final stand on this? You know, are the opposition going to have to get on with the business at hand purely because the public perhaps don't have any more tolerance for this? And does this just blow over? Or is this such an important issue that the opposition will continue to challenge it in one form or another? I mean, there's even talk of legal challenges because, Paddy, I know you referenced that Verona Murphy hadn't done anything wrong. It is questionable over what parts of the order of business people were voting on, you know, when the rows were going up and what have you. You know, you listen closely to the audio, you could make a strong argument that the Dáil was voting on something else, not these new measures by government. So what can this Dáil function, or will it function under the stewardship, the chairmanship of Verona Murphy for the next 4 years?
Well, a departmental manager once said to me in the hospital, Paddy, failure to plan on your part does not constitute a crisis for me. This situation is not of the opposition, the 5 opposition party leaders making here. Right, this is solely Micheál Martin, to a lesser degree Simon Harris is making. They went into, I mean, it was very valid for them to have discussions with the rural group of 7, but then when there was the remaining of that, the residue of that, they didn't get a government position, either a senior or junior level or whatever, and the technical group. I mean, if you look back in the whole principle of technical groups, they're well established in Dáil, but they've always come from the opposition benches. Now, Michael Lowry has given an interview outside of the Plinth of Dáil as well, by the way, in the same spot that Ivana Bacik was interviewed. And he said that this group of 7 is going to vote for the government, and his words were through thick and thin. There is no way in the wide world when he comes out with a statement like that, Greg, to say that he's in the opposition benches. He just can't be. And if I can't see how the opposition group of parties are actually going to be able to let this go, because what they can do is they don't have to cooperate with it. For instance, with committees or pairing or all of this kind of stuff.
But what I don't understand, Paddy, is like, say someone like Pat the Cope Gallagher here, who's back elected as a Fianna Fáil backbencher. Like, how would people like Pat and others be happy when Michael Lowry will have more options to raise important issues for his constituents than Pat the Cope Gallagher might? Because there's way more Fine Gael backbenchers, there's way more Fianna Fáil backbenchers, there's 7 of this independent group, and they get to share this additional time. So, like, if I were a member of Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, I'd be going, why are we... I still haven't figured out, especially given Micheál Martin's comments about Michael Lowry in the past, I still can't understand why Micheál Martin particularly has gone all in on Michael Lowry, and he has gone all in.
Well, I can't understand it either, because I said to you earlier, that Micheál Martin needs to be really, really careful here, if he thinks this is going to blow over. I mean, Verona Murphy may very well win the vote today, but do you think for any moment, Greg, that this has gone away? It has not. And if there are, if you see Michael Lowry and Danny Healy-Rae and whoever, Richard Humphreys and whoever the rest of them that are there, and that they're getting more airtime, and particularly if they're on TV and stuff like that, the backbenchers on both of the 2 major parties are going to have a problem with this, coupled with the fact then that it looks like that if there's any announcement of any goodies coming up in constituencies, that these guys here are going to have advance warning, and they're going to announce it first. I mean, that's going to infuriate backbench TDs. I mean, what are they there for? Then only voting fodder. And this is why the problem with all this, Greg, is something else is going to happen down the line next year or the year after. And the stuff that's been embedded in the long grass here now is going to jump up and bite me home.
But that seems logical. Again, every member of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in the Dáil is complicit in this, so they must know what's going on, because they're not they're not kicking up a storm. You've not heard of any heaves. I presume I've heard of no heaves. So you've got an awful lot of people that are complicit in this Lowry deal, because they're not. There's no leaks. There's no nothing. Everyone seems to be going along with it. And I'll tell you what those political advisors are telling the government: ride it out. If we get to Trump's tariffs and the rest of the stuff, what we can say is that we're trying to get on with the business of running this country, and the opposition are messing about. They're holding up that business, and they don't care about the people. And I would put my life on it. That is precisely the advice the government is being given.
It is, and that may very well happen. But that's never going to be the end of it, Greg, because what happens here, it's like in days gone by, when there was political heaves and all that against, government leaders, or that there was very serious issues that arose. And then they were parked, but they never went away. And grievances that people had, they suddenly came to the fore again. You may very well be correct the way things are going to pan out this week, because what's happening on the international stage, particularly what's coming from America tomorrow, is probably going to overshadow all this. But it'll never go away. And I think that Verona Murphy is going to have a very difficult 5 years as well, because she's always going to be tainted and taunted now by the opposition TDs about getting fair play. And she may well try to redress that by giving them a disproportionate amount of time, which is in effect would go against Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbench TDs as well, as going to push them further into the morass.
Yeah.
I suspect that this is only one link in a chain here, that tomorrow is not going to be the end of it.
And I'll tell you what the opposition will do as well. Their focus now will be on Michael Lowry, because if anything further is exposed about him or any wrongdoing, Simon Harris and Micheál Martin will not be able to insulate themselves from it. So the tactic now would be, or should be, if I was a political advisor, is to focus on Larry now, because, as I say, if there is something exposed about him now, they cannot insulate them from it. His downfall would be the downfall of at least Micheál Martin as well. So I believe also that that's the strategy the opposition will approach going forward, because the same mud is stuck to them already on this element of the deal. So there's no more wins there. You have to bring them down through Larry, in my opinion. Could be wrong.
Yeah, you see, whether this is real or imaginary, it's like the photographs that the press are using with Michael Lowry and Verona Murphy. That's exactly what the opposition are going to tie. They're going to tie Micheál Martin to Michael Lowry, and that's going to cause a lot of disquiet, I suppose, to backbench TDs within Fianna Fáil, particularly if the government gets into a very rocky state, with things like inflation and tariffs and a reduction in corporation tax and all of that kind of stuff. The government is in for a very rocky ride or rocky period over the next 5 years.
And I can tell you too, Paddy, see backbenchers, they don't want to talk about the Lowry deal.
No,
they really don't want to talk about it.
They don't, because I'll tell you what they don't want to do. See, that's one of the great things now about YouTube and social media and all that. All you have to do is go in and Google what Micheál Martin said in Dáil about Michael Lowry, and makes very embarrassing reading, because suddenly now he's his best buddy, and he has led 5 TDs from the rural group in to support the government. He doesn't want to hear any of that. So this is what the opposition need to do now, is gel the two of them together, is to link up Micheál Martin with Michael Lowry shoulder to shoulder here, and hope that some of the mud from Michael Lowry will move across to Micheál Martin.
Fascinating insight as always, Patrick. Thank you so much for accepting our invite. We really do appreciate it. That's Paddy Rooney, political analyst and also chair of Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. Do you agree, disagree? What's your analysis? Because, the thing about this programme is that I respect your analysis as much as I respect the people we bring on. Because we all have an opinion, and all our views are valid, regardless of what they are, by the way. And maybe you think the Michael Lowry deal is the best thing since sliced bread. That might be your view, and if that is your view, you're welcome to it, and you can express it here as well. Right, let's take a quick break. Back with more shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
At Lidl, we searched for fantastic Easter eggs and found them close to home. Thank Cavan Chocolatier, Anya's Handmade Chocolates, for our wide range of deluxe Easter eggs. You'll taste delicately handmade chocolate with the purest of ingredients from $6.99. Proudly supporting Irish suppliers. Shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this Easter.
Virgin Media Broadband is smooth. How smooth, you ask? Well, imagine you're a big old walrus, and rather than lumbering around a glacier avoiding polar bears, you're on a lake, driving a speedboat. 3,000 kilos of mollusk-munching magnificence, feeling the wind in your whiskers and the sun on your big blubbery face. That's the kind of smoothness you feel with 99.9% broadband reliability. Available nationwide. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Subject to location and availability. T's and C's apply. For broadband reliability, see virginmedia.ie/proof.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Dry and sunny. The sunshine will be hazy at times. Breezy too, with highest temperatures of 12 to 17 degrees, modest in the west, in moderate to fresh south-east winds, and is hopefully over the next few days and maybe even the next week or two, we're going to be able to go out and enjoy our beautiful county, our beautiful countryside. But we can't do that if people continue to use it like their own private refuge site or refuse site. Independent councillor Micheál Colm McGillen-Aspig is with me on the show now. Micheál Colm, good morning. Do you imagine why on Wultagamai?
Yeah, Colin, I was just listening to you there when you were saying about people's opinions on Michael Lowry and is it the best thing since sliced bread? And I was thinking to myself, I would probably leave that bread fairly blue moulded now, in my own opinion. But anyway,
I didn't need to ask you that. I could have figured that one out. But go on.
No, of course it's not. Look, listen, the idea of that this government offers something new. It's the same old government that was there in the 90s when we saw the crash. It's the same old politics that was there prior to any other crash, and their interest of looking after the rich and looking after their own kin, their own class. They're politicians that have been there and have done the circle in terms of their involvement with builders and typical.
But all that being said, no more than your.
Galway tent.
I know where you're coming from, but that's nothing like yourself, Micheál Colm. These are the people that people voted for. People voted for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in the full knowledge they were going back into government together. They got 20% of the vote each of those that bothered to vote, 40%. I mean, obviously, then you could say, oh well, the majority didn't vote for them. But we have proportional representation, and you know. That's the will of the people, no?
Well, look, it wouldn't be the first time that working class people voted against their own class. We can only look back at history how others have voted in the democratic process, and I'm not making any comparison between the two, but you're looking at the 30s or the late 30s and the 40s, how people voted in Germany. So, look, they don't always vote in their best interest. When you see that 1 in 5 children will go to school without proper breakfast, when you see the poverty levels, when you see in our own communities the amount of people that have to emigrate to foreign countries just to be able to afford rent, not alone to buy property, when you see people, when you look at fuel poverty, so mentioned the Paul's annual report. So, look, people, it's no surprise that people voting against their own class.
It is interesting too because new figures released today show that Irish people, that's you, me and the rest, but not you and me, I suspect, have €1.2 trillion in money and assets. And of that, €520 billion in savings across the entire country. Now, maybe it's a few people of the majority.
It certainly is in my house anyway, I'll tell you that.
520
or my neighbours.
€520 billion in savings, and 1.2 trillion if you include property as well. So clearly, as I say, maybe it's just us as a county, but there's lots of people that are doing okay and didn't fancy a change, because that's a lot of wealth to have on hold.
Of course there is. Look, the 1% to the 5% of the state is clearly extremely wealthy. The wealth gap is widening constantly. Look, you only have to look at our own community where we live, never mind what I represent and who you are a voice for. But it's sad when you see the amount of people who are living on the breadline, and people are living on the breadline, and anybody who doesn't believe that, let them go and volunteer any of the services that work with people who are finding it difficult to put food on the table and to put oil in their tank. So there is huge poverty out there, and the Central Statistics Office, if you look that up, you can see the massive gaps between the rich and the poor. And there are people within our society that are extremely wealthy, but they're very, very same people that will champion the likes of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the upper classes, the same people that will donate heavily to campaigns to get them re-elected, because for them their tax is hugely important, that their tax levels is extremely low.
No, I get
All
you.
you have to do is look at...
But just for balance, like I do also believe there is quite a large proportion of society that are doing okay as well, that notwithstanding the people that you talk of, but there are, you only have to look at new car sales, and I don't begrudge anyone that. That's fantastic. People work really, really hard, but there is some money about, however long that might last.
That's of a small percentage,
of course,
unfortunately, and if you look at even those who might be affluent in some aspects who might have a mortgage paid off and might now be in retirement and might have a few pounds. But what they are looking at is they're looking at a screen on Skype talking to their grandchildren in Australia or in Abu Dhabi. I today alone, my own neighbours are heading away to Abu Dhabi and a safe journey to them to see their grandchild, knowing that their family won't be returning at home. Because they can afford rent in Abu Dhabi, they can afford to possibly maybe buy in Abu Dhabi, because we are not having a society organised politically in the interest of the working class.
Live free in their sexuality if they're not heterosexual in Abu Dhabi either. It's not all green. The grass on the other side.
That's a conversation that's important, but it's a very, very different conversation.
It is, of course. Listen, I have to go now because the news is here at 12. We were going to talk about Dublin dumping at Lough-Neagh. You can check out Councillor McGill-Aspig's Facebook page to have a look at that. Thanks for now. Take care of yourself, and that's where we have to leave it on the show. Till tomorrow.